probably should have took a allergy pill.
I'll put you on hold right quick. Welcome to Detroit Book City's Juneteenth virtual book fair. We are so elated to have you guys in the house today. Today we celebrate Juneteenth, as you can see. It's a celebration of freedom for African Americans. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed on January 1st, 1863 by Abraham Lincoln. And it was to free the slaves, the enslaved people, the African Americans. So today we come to you to bring Black authors, Black writers into the picture. We're going to celebrate them today and all of their accomplishments and what they have written about history, what they have written about with their experiences. You know, just things that has changed on the front for African Americans. So our first guest today is Phoenix Q. Brown, and I'm going to bring Phoenix on. Let me tell you about Phoenix though before we get started. Okay, Phoenix is a very well-accomplished woman. She is the author of Behind the Scenes, The Rise of Resilience, which is an autobiography. So it's an account of her life. Her background, she was born and raised in Detroit. She is the mom of 3 children. She has an associate degree in mental health, bachelor's and master's degree in social work. And she's working currently as a clinical therapist. She serves as a board member on Wayne State University, Social Work Alumni Board, and the T. Rose Foundation. And she's a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome Phoenix Q. Brown. Let's bring her in. Hi, Phoenix. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to Detroit Book City's Juneteenth Virtual Book Fair 2020. We are so glad to have you here as one of our guest authors, our first author for the weekend. So you know you must be a special woman, right?
Yes, number one.
And you're from Detroit, so we have to represent.
Yes.
Oh, let's just jump in. The whole thing behind this initiative is to introduce you guys to the world. Let them know that you are the Black writers, you are the aspiring thinkers, and now you're putting your words into print so people can understand who we are as a culture, who we are as a people. With that being said, let's talk about Juneteenth real quick. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
Oh, Juneteenth means so much to me. But I think the one thing that sticks out the most is how resilient our people are. Our ancestors, you know, in the face of adversity, multiple traumas, they made something out of nothing. So just their resilience and even the continuation of them being resilient is awesome. So Juneteenth means so much to me, and I'm glad to see now, even though it's better late than never, that we are kind of coming together. We are representing. We are celebrating Juneteenth. You know, a lot of cultures, they want to be us. They want the rhythm, but not our blues.
Good point. Well, tell us about your book. Let's get into this is your first book, correct?
This is my first book of 3. So there will be 2 more coming after this.
You'll be telling us about that too. Okay.
The second one next year. But this is my book, Behind the Scenes, The Rise of Resilience. And it is an autobiography based on my life, my upbringing. And that's why resilience stands out to me.
That's the word today.
Being resilient. Personally, myself, I went through a lot of multiple traumas in my lifetime, and you know, with my family. And although I went through those multiple traumas, I was resilient in my life, in my lifetime. And sometimes we have to be able to break generational curses, break different things that hinder us from our growth and being productive members of society. So this was my way to giving back to the community, giving back to my family, my own children, because I want them to see where I came from. But just because where I came from does not direct or design where I'm headed or where I'm going.
Right. Wonderful. And when did you publish the book? What was the published date?
It was actually published this year.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
March 2020.
What can people expect when they pick it up? What are they going to feel when they first start reading it? Give us
They
some
are
tips
going to
about it.
have a roller coaster with this book.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's one of three, but they're going to have a roller coaster. They're going to laugh. They
Okay.
are going to cry. They are going to get angry. But the most important, I think everybody is going to identify with something in this book. It really draws out emotions.
Okay.
It's clear and cut, so and it's raw, that you will understand everything that is being spilled out. So it's not anything that you will read in here. You feel like, what happened or how did this? Is very detailed.
So it's an easy read then, pretty much.
Yes, it is.
So is it you narrating it, or is it first person, second person? How is it? Is it a novel?
It is narrated by me by Phoenix.
Okay.
Orig- my name is Marquita,
Okay.
but Phoenix Q Brown is the person that's narrating this book.
Okay.
And I named my name is Phoenix Q Brown for several reasons. One is because I feel like I rise like the Phoenix.
Okay. You do. Credentials.
Q is because Q is just because my name is Marquita and there's a Q in my name. I
Mhm.
just like the Q.
Right.
And brown is because I didn't understand or like or love the skin that I was in.
Okay.
So I love the skin that I'm in. My pretty brown skin.
That's right. That's right. So is it a okay? So as we get through your book, when we first open it up, it's going to narrate your life
Mhm.
from childhood.
It's going to give you a background. It's going to give you a backdrop of my family dynamics first.
Okay.
Then it's going to shift over from my childhood, from the earliest memory that I have.
Okay.
And then it chronicles all the way up until 18 years of age once I graduate high school.
So it goes to 18. So it's like a coming of age sort of, huh? A little bit. So who's the reader? Who should be reading this book?
Everyone.
When you say everyone,
I say everyone. And this is why.
Caucasian, Black, Indian, Asian,
Yeah.
women,
Yes,
men.
because across the board, anyone can be resilient. We may have some commonality in things, but you may be dealing with your own. Maybe it's something in here that you're dealing with is still traumatic to you, or causing some type of pain or anguish in your life.
Right.
It will give you hope. It will give you plant a seed that will inspire you. So I say everyone. I say youth because our youth at the time, because I was a child at this time,
So
and
maybe like age
sometimes our youth
13, age 13, maybe age 13 you can start reading 12. How youthful would you get? How,
because I would say, yeah, maybe age 13 up.
okay, 13 up.
Yeah, 13 up. And the reason why I say that because you don't want children too young to read something as graphic as this and they not understand it, or this might traumatize them. So I don't want that. But maybe 13 and up. Adults, because we still have adults that struggle with different things, and maybe this will inspire them. I say educators, because educators may understand how to deal with certain youth in schools when they're behaviorally, when they're acting out or doing certain things that has nothing to do with, the education portion. Maybe it's something going on at home. You know, you just never know what's going on. I say those who, anyone, medical people, um, social workers, everyone, to
'Cause
show so they
you're
can
a
build
mental,
compassion.
gotcha. You're a mental therapist. You have an associate degree.
I have associate's degree, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree.
Do you feel
And
like your degrees help you write this book?
none of these degrees helped me write this book. Well, to some degree.
Yeah, with the experiences dealing with the public, did it give you that root desire to
It did. It did. It gave me that extra push, seeing that because I am a mental health therapist, I work with children. I work with youth. And it did say I need to go ahead and tell my story. So it was healing for me as well. But I needed to tell my story because I see so many youth that are dealing with their own traumas or dealing with similar traumas that I've dealt with, but have lost hope. And here I'm trying to help me and many others, trying to help these youth to regulate their own emotions, to cope with different things, just for them to understand and know that they are valued and they are loved and they are sacred.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Let's see the cover again. Let's put it up to the screen. Let
This
us see the book. How many pages is it?
about 148.
148 pages.
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to read an excerpt from the book? Is something in there that you want to?
If it's okay, I would like to read the back because I think it gives an overall view.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
In Greek mythology, a phoenix is said to live 4,000 years before it dies by self destructing in combustible flames and re emerging from the ashes. The mask of this creature is that we don't know the journey it endured before rebirth. All we know is what we see and the story that's told about their unique transformations. Its journey is similar to the character Phoenix. Phoenix represents how her beauty is present, but no one knows the story of how she rose from a life of struggles to become a productive member of society. Phoenix takes you on a ride inside her very low self esteem and life lessons that took her years to understand her own beauty. She struggled with complex trauma but did not let it defeat her progression through life. Phoenix is motivation for those who feel lost, don't know what purpose they serve, who are finding themselves and want to find resolution. Phoenix inspires those not to become a product of their environment, but to challenge themselves into making their own path despite any circumstances. She also inspires those to have the will and determination in seeking happiness. Her life tells a story of how a young woman survived while lacking self love and was determined to break the cycle of what looked like lost hope. The diamond in the rough is sure to prove that life is not always the way you want it, but she had the final say so in what her life would become. The tools of survival are not always given to you. Sometimes you have to work with the tools you have until the right doors open up. You will discover that although Phoenix was dealt a shitty hand and didn't always make the best decisions, she never gave up on herself, and that learning to love herself was one of the hardest things to conquer.
Wow. That's amazing. That book is going to heal somebody. Stories matter.
Yes,
Our life experiences matter.
yes. I'm
So,
hoping that it does heal somebody. I'm hoping that it does inspire somebody. I'm hoping that it would allow others to love on somebody. I'm hoping that it will spark more compassion and understanding, seek to understand instead of passing judgment. Is it okay? I don't know if I have enough time, but if it's okay, I'd like to
yeah,
share.
yeah.
Through life, I've carried a lot of different things because of what I experienced. Um, and one of the things I notice about people, people will look at you, and I mean, it's life, but people will look at you and judge you within 7 seconds
Mhm.
of who you are, of what they think and feel about you. Um, but they never ask you
They never
who,
ask.
what, why, how. They already have a preconceived notion about who you are, who they think you are, and where you come from. And then they treat you as such. We have youth that come up, and this irritates me to my soul. We have a lot of youth that's coming up nowadays that's dealing with all kind of stuff. And adults, we as adults, will be quick to judge and say, she hot in the pants,
Mhm.
he gonna be a thug, or
Mhm.
yada 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 yada. All these negative things that we place on these kids. Who knows? That could be a future doctor. That could be a future nurse. It could be a future therapist. You never know. But sometimes, even what they're doing, they're only doing something that they may have mimicked, maybe what society has put out there, maybe what their parents, their family members are doing. But then you got to ask, what happened to the parents? What happened to the family members? You can't give something that you never had.
Well, I'm so excited about your book. The book, again, ladies and gentlemen, is called Behind the Scenes, The Rise of Resilience. Tell us how they can get your book. Tell everybody how you can get your book.
Well, you can get my book at www.phoenixqbrown.com. That is my website. You can follow me on Instagram at Phoenix underscore QB underscore author, or find me on Facebook, Phoenix Q Brown 3.
Wonderful, wonderful. Does anybody from the listening audience have any questions for Phoenix? How much is your book? Let's find out. How much does it cost?
It is $20 per book. Yes.
Oh, well, we are so excited and congratulations on your debut book.
Thank you.
And it will fall under what genre? What would it fall under? What category would your book fall under?
Um, I guess it wouldn't call it autobiography. It will
Autobiographies. Yeah, pretty much.
autobiography.
Yeah. Is it a fiction book though? It's based on real life situations, but would you call it
Yes.
fiction?
Yes. I'm
Everyone.
sorry. Yes.
That's okay. We're excited. We're excited. We're glad to know who you are. You're right here in Detroit,
Yes.
and you're representing the Black writers around the country that are sharing their life experience. I think
Yes.
that's to be commended. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. And if anybody has any questions, I am open to any questions at all. I am an open book.
There it is. All right. Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave with the listening audience or anybody that's watching about being stable and being centered with the pandemic happening, with the police brutality, and all the other things that are taking place? Even some of our civil rights are being, denied. So, what kind of feedback would you give to our audience on how to stay centered as a mental therapist, clinical therapist?
I would say, in order to stay centered, you have to look within yourself, find the value. We are hurting a lot out here. Uh, we are confused. We don't understand what's going on, but find the value within. Find the healing within. And when you find a place within that is centered, and that value and that healing and that calm place, you will be able to pass that on to others and share that with others.
Well,
So
we,
that's what I would say.
we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
You are more
Thank
than
you for
welcome.
the tips. Congratulations again on your book and participating in Detroit Book City's virtual book fair featuring African American authors. Usually we host a physical book fair around this time and during the fall and during the Christmas time with children books, and then in February as an African American. So now I guess this is our new platform. And whatever means necessary, we're glad to have a platform to continue to share our authors. That's something that I couldn't sleep on at night. I said, oh, we have to find a way to promote the authors across the country.
Yeah.
Gonna have to use this Black virtual platform. And so far, with you being our first guest, it's working out fine. We worked through the kinks. So
Well, I want to tell you, thank you so very much for having me on. Thank you for setting this platform up for us Black authors. We do greatly, tremendously appreciate you.
well, thank you so much, dears.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, this is Phoenix Q Brown. She's the author of Behind the Scenes, The Rise of Resilience. You can buy her book on her website, which is phoenixqbrown.com. All right, dear. Signing out. Take care, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
All right. Wow, that was pretty exciting to me, Phoenix. She's a very dynamic woman and very accomplished woman. And that feedback that she has given to the audience, I receive it. I try to stay stable during these trying times of watching all of these events happen. It's an era of change, it's a revolution that we are experiencing. So to me, stories matter. That's why we're having this platform. I believe stories matter. We all have them. They're inside of our bodies, and they need to come out of our bodies. We need to share with the world. And I think that was sometimes make the world a better place. I think we have one question. Did we miss this question? She says, I am an educator of 30 years and I have come in contact with young adults that may have a great benefit from your story. Do you Zoom meetings with classes? Let's see if we still have Phoenix on the line. We've got about 2 minutes. We can bring her back. Let's see if she's still here. Phoenix, are you still here?
Oh, I thought I left.
Oh, I'm glad you're still here. Look like we had a question right after you finished. So,
okay.
So let's. The question is, we have about 2 minutes. I am an educator of 30 years. I have come in contact with young adults that may have a great benefit from your story. Do you do Zoom meetings with classes?
I do not. However, it's funny that she said that because I was just talking to someone a couple of days ago about doing Zoom meetings. But you are more than welcome to leave a message on my website and we can discuss it further.
Okay, wonderful. That's Christine Hall. So we'll make sure that we get you guys in touch with each other.
Yes,
And
please.
it's an opportunity for you. So opportunities do exist through chaos, right?
Yes.
They do. Our bookstore has done tremendous with book sales lately. So opportunities do happen. You just have to pay attention, like you say, and stay centered.
Yes.
All right. Any more questions before we release this wonderful Black author? Any more questions? I guess I'm glad you were still holding on. So, all right, Phoenix. Well, you have a good one, dear, and thanks a lot for participating. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's prepare for our next guest author, Kiana Daniels. She is the book author of Girl Move On, a guide for letting go. Ooh, I just love that title. Let me repeat that again. Girl Move On, a guide for letting go. I took a peek into her book because she did give me a copy. And the tips that she wrote in this book, being a young woman, young lady, is phenomenal. I mean, every point that she made just made sense when it comes to having a relationship with someone who either is not ready, who's playing games, or who just buying time, I guess I want to say. So when I flipped through her book, it was an interesting read. It caught my attention instantly. And I made myself a couple of notes because we're going to talk to 6 other authors today. But let's talk about Kiana Daniels. She is, let me get some details on here right here. Her other book, I'll tell you this, and then we'll bring her on and let her talk about her own books, right? That's probably the best thing to do. Her other book is called Tamia and Mo, Love, Lies, and the Church, Part 1 and 2. She is an urban Christian fiction book writer. And when I read her book, or just a portion of her book, it's intimate and it's honest. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome to this platform our second author for today, Kiana Daniels. Kiana, are you there? Okay, we're waiting for Kiana. There she is. Hi, Kiana. Welcome to Detroit Book City's virtual book fair, Juneteenth virtual book fair. We are so pleased to have you as our guest writer, our second guest writer.
Having me.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Speak again so I can make sure I can hear you. Can you talk?
Can you guys hear me?
You might want to. I can hear you a little bit.
Let me come a little closer.
Yeah,
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, much better. Okay,
Awesome.
great. Well, how are you today? First of all.
I'm good. Today's Juneteenth. It's been a fabulous, exciting day celebrating our Blackness. So I'm having a wonderful day. I hope you are too.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And speaking of Juneteenth, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Juneteenth is super important. I learned about Juneteenth when I got in college. I didn't know much about it growing up.
Uh-huh.
But I celebrated Juneteenth last year with my staff, and it was my first time officially celebrating last year in 2019. So I said last year, every year going forward, I would celebrate Juneteenth. So today I spent some time protesting um, on campus at the University of Michigan and going on a little march. And now I'm here with you. So Juneteenth is just important for us to celebrate where we came from and for us to know that even though we were granted freedom, we still have a long way to go in fully manifesting and obtaining our freedom based on the systematic racism that is across this world, honestly, not just in America. So the fight still continues, but we celebrate our blackness and we love being black and we just honor where we came from today. So Juneteenth is just amazing. I'm excited about today.
That's wonderful. I am too. I have a natural excitement about today. I brought Juneteenth to the forefront maybe about 3 years ago. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I learned about Juneteenth maybe about 5, 6 years ago. I didn't know it existed. And I have such pride in our culture that when I learned about it, as soon as I learned about it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. I love anything with Black history, that shows us
Yeah.
at least the positive side of things, because it could be a dark space looking at our history. It could be very dark and sad. So just celebrating our ancestors and the strides they went through just to ensure we are where we are today, I celebrate that. I think that needs to be celebrated. And there's no discrimination against any other culture. All cultures have their days when they celebrate, and this is ours. So I'm very proud of Juneteenth. And I'm glad we have this event today to showcase Black writers. So your words in your book is called Girl on the Move, a guide for letting go. Woo! Your words have meaning, honey. Your words have
Yes.
power and they have light.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so excited. Girl Move On was my first book that I wrote in 2017, fresh out of a toxic relationship and really wanting to capture it. It was almost like therapeutic writing in a journal, writing that book, but I knew I wanted to help other women. And I also helped myself just kind of writing what I wanted to write. And so it's just a guide for if you're ready to let go of a bad relationship, sometimes you don't know where to start. And so a book like Girl Move On will help women. I'm sure men could get some tips out of it too, but it's for my ladies. So it'll help women to know that you have what you need inside of you to let it go. And it takes you step by step, tip by tip. There are also like pages within the books to write down some reflection
I
and to
saw that.
really understand what it is you've experienced and how to move on and heal from it for your future.
Now, do you have your book in your hand? Is it handy somewhere?
I have all three of my books with me today. So, Girl Move On. This is the first cover. I did upgrade the cover within
Oh,
the year.
change.
So
I like
yes, chains being broken. So that's Girl Move On. And I'm just really excited about it because it really helps. It helps. And I've had people who have read it that have said that they were able to really process and reflect and move on from their relationship.
so you said you wrote this book because you had just got out of a toxic relationship. Now you look very young, okay? And just so the audience will know, I went to school with her dad, so that takes like 30-ish or something like that.
I'm 34.
34. You have a daughter your age that's 34. You guys are the smartest young women these days. Oh my God. That book, when I read the first couple pages, I felt like you were a 50-year-old giving a array of tips on relationship. You describe every type of situation there is.
Yeah.
A toxic relationship. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Share a couple things out of your book that women experience. And when I was reading some of those lines before I was happily married, oh my God, did I go through at least 3 or 4 of those things? And I didn't realize it at the time, until somebody really, really good come in your life. And then you can reflect back and say, what was I doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm just keeping this book fair real with introducing the authors and what you're writing about because, this is an authentic experience.
Yes.
Book is phenomenal.
Yes, we got to keep it real. I mean, sometimes you run into liars. I talk about that in the book and how to spot. I want to back up and talk about red flags. Spend
Oh,
a lot of time in the book talking about red flags. because oftentimes we start dating and we get really excited and infatuation, and we're falling in love, that we really don't take the time to notice the red flags. So one of the things I describe as an analogy, so if you were driving down the street and you saw a car just going 70 miles per hour through all of the stop signs, all the red lights, you will be looking like, what is this person doing? Like, are they okay? Can they not see? Is something wrong with them? But we kind of do that when we get in relationships, when we meet people. We see the little red flags, and sometimes it's not fully manifested, the issue, but we see things and we're like, oh, it's okay. I'll just sweep it under the rug, until you look and everything under the rug is just like a mountain at this point. But in the book, I talk about liars. I talk about men who don't take care of their children. I talk about men who manipulate. I also talk about abuse in the book. I haven't experienced abuse, but I have went through a lot of toxic, not even a lot of toxic relationships, but I went through one that was pretty toxic
Right.
and had a lot of problematic things. And so I was able to use my experience and experiences of other women that I know to just outline what you should look for and give women a heads up. Because sometimes if you're naive and you don't have a huge dating experience, you just don't know. And if you're not taught what to look for, taught how to be treated in a relationship, you can kind of get bamboozled and have the wool put over your eyes and go through a toxic relationship. So,
In your book, you discuss women do not have to settle for less.
no, you don't. I think sometimes the overall prevailing thought is like, oh, I have to ride or die. That's what my generation would say, or, just keep
I
holding
heard
on
that
until
this
you say,
generation does. I heard it in the music. I'm like, what?
yeah, that's a theme. You
Music.
long suffering and just wait until the person gets it together. And I had to learn, you don't have to settle. If it's not looking like what you want, or if you're not happy, you don't have to settle for a relationship like that. You can wait for someone else, or, cultivate your own self. And I talk a lot about that, towards the end of the book. I think sometimes when folks read a book, they want a happy ending. But what I'm saying towards the end is like, I can't really give you a happy ending. What you need to do is just focus on yourself. Who knows when your Prince Charming, or, the man that you're supposed to be with will come along. But until then, love yourself, um, take care of yourself, and just go on a journey, but refuse to settle for less, and you'll have a good outcome in life.
One of the things I about your book is that you have that journal section, like you said. Once you read all
Mm-hmm.
the tips and these red flags, and you have a section under it where you can kind of reflect and write. And then, the good thing is you keep books forever. Most book lovers keep their books, they collect dust. You can
Yeah,
always go back 2 years from now and reflect on how you were feeling at that time,
yeah.
compared to now. So what's the youngest age range? What's the youngest age you would suggest to read your book? What's the youngest age?
I would say 18.
So
Because I
early.
know, yeah, I know some girls, you might be a teenager having to deal with toxic relationships. You just never know. What I would say to that is like, parents have to prepare their children and show their children, like, this is what you need to look out for. This is how a man is supposed to treat you. This is what a positive experience look like. We know that all relationships are not perfect, but there are some things that should just be avoided. But I know young women as young as 18 that could probably benefit. I see some of the girls on social media when I look on the blogs and stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I need to send them my book. Even some older women, I'm like, I need to mail them my book because they need a little help.
You probably need to start some workshops. I think workshops would be good for young women. This book
Yeah,
is definitely for the 18-year-old. We don't want to scare the 16-year-olds from it because they're still getting their feet wet. But 18 out the door, this is like a great tool for them. It's not even it's a positive book to me. It's not even though it has a lot of negative situations in there, but that's reality. That's
yeah,
that's what we're going through. And a lot of people are going through in relationships. There's a lot of those red flags they're just ignoring, like you said, ride or die with this generation. And it's not about ride or die. It's about self-love first. If you can't love yourself,
absolutely.
you can't love anybody else. And if you don't love yourself, you don't see their wrongdoing. You just
Yeah,
blind by, oh, I got a man, this is great, and I just got to stick with him. But
absolutely.
your book is great. We got a couple more minutes. Read us something really quick to let people know why they should buy that book. And
Sure. I'm going to read a few things. So I'm going to read the back of the book just to give you an overall synopsis.
okay,
So
sounds
let's debunk a myth. You do not have to kiss a ton of frogs to get to your Prince Charming. Who wants to kiss a frog anyway? All too often, women find themselves in toxic relationships. We deal with men who lie, cheat, use, manipulate, and even abuse us at times. We struggle to walk away, and if we do leave, we find ourselves back in the relationship, hoping he's changed while settling for less than we deserve. Girl Move On, a guide for letting go, will help you slam the door on that toxic relationship for the final time. And so this book is really to help you see, and also the other two books that I have, To Me and Mo, part one and two, it's kind of like the story version of the self-help book. Because it outlines a young lady who found herself in a toxic relationship and all she's trying to do to free herself from it. So these books are fiction.
Um,
Um,
let's see them.
but
Let's hold them up again. Let us see them.
yeah,
To
To
me,
Me and Mo, part
oh,
one and two.
nice. And when did you publish those two titles?
So Tamia and Mo part one came in 2018 and part two came in 2019. So I'm working on part three, which will be the finale of the book, and that'll come this year.
Wonderful. Now tell everybody how they could buy your books.
Sure. So my books are listed on Amazon.com. If you search my name, Kiana Daniels, they are currently 99 cents on Amazon. But if you would like a hardcover book, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at author Kiana Daniels, and I will gladly ship you a hardcover signed book for $10.
Wonderful. And what's the price on your other book? The your main book, Girl
Yep.
Move On, A Guide for Letting Go. The title
They
is
are
wonderful.
all $10 for hardcover and all 99 cents on Kindle.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations. So, Girl Move On. Is that your debut book? That's your first book?
That was my first book. Yep. And now I haven't written any self help books since, but I've been writing a lot of fiction. So I'll have Tamia Mo Part 3 coming later on this year, and then another fiction book coming later on this year as well.
And you're based in Detroit, right? Everybody from Detroit?
Yep. I'm from Detroit, based in Detroit, born and raised.
Wonderful. We are so glad to have you, and thanks for being a part of our Black Author Virtual Book Fair celebrating Juneteenth. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, you can get her book again at kianadaniels.com. And you said your book is also on Amazon, right? And then
Yep.
you have Instagram as well, or
I'm on Instagram and Facebook at author Kiana Daniels.
and all three titles are $10 a piece.
Yep.
And all three books are good for 18 and up.
18 and up.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for participating. And is there any questions before we get off? We have about 1 minute left. Does anybody have any questions for Kiana? No questions? I didn't want you to hang up and then everybody get on. Okay, I guess we don't have any questions. It's a great book, ladies. Get this book. If you have a young woman in your life that needs some direction. I see something on here. Oh, we got one question. Hold on. Let's see. We got one question. Oh, somebody said they can't wait to read. Yes.
Awesome. Yay.
And believe me, Bria, it's a hot seller. The first page will get you. So it's a good one. It'll capture you. Okay. Great tips, especially if you're in a bad relationship right now and you know doggone well you do not need to be there. Please get Kiana's book, Girl Move On, A Guide to Letting Go. Okay, peace out. We're gonna let you go, Kiana. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Wow, that was exciting. Kiana, she's a young woman, 34 years old, and she's already writing books on relationships. Wow. And I mean, it's a hot book. It has some great tips. And I mean, as a 50-something-year-old woman, I was reading it and I had a reflection. And I'm like, this is a great book. This is a really great book. When a woman's trying to get herself together and there's obstacles in the way. We're not bashing men at all. They're great men. I have a great husband. But what I'm saying is, let's be real. We have women in our lives that are dating people and you see the red flags. Now, if you see the red flags, they see the red flags, right? So, get this book, girls. Girl on the Move, A Guide for Letting Go. This book can be bought at kianadaniels.com. Okay, I'll let that go because I would drag on about that book. That was an excellent book. Okay, next. Who's next on the roster? Dr. Regina Jennings. talk about Dr. Regina Jennings. She is an original Black Panther from the 1968 party, Los Angeles, California. I'm going to give you a little bit more background. She was part of the Black Panther Party for self-defense, where she learned her philosophy for Black self-help and unity. She has been teaching and writing about Black resistance for over 25 years, and she is a professor. She is the author of academic articles, poetry, and 2 academic books. So let's bring Dr. Jennings on. If I could get my springs together here, this virtual thing is new to us, so bear with us. Let's bring on Dr. Jennings. Dr. Jennings. Bring on. Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm so glad we got this visual together.
Yes, we did. It's all together now. How are you today? Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm so glad we got this visual together.
Yes, we did. It's all together now. How are you today? Hello, how are you? We have some feedback. Yes, we did. It's all together now. How are you today? Okay. We have some feedback.
Yes.
This is a different experience, okay? Those who are tuning in, we apologize for the creative side of Zoom, but we're getting some feedback. Experience, okay? Those who are tuning in, we apologize for the creative side of Zoom, but we're getting some feedback. Experience, okay? Those who are tuning in, we apologize for the creative side of Zoom, but we're getting some feedback. You know what? We're gonna stop real quick. Dr. Jennings, we have a 7:15 break. I think we need to figure out the technical end before we go forward further. So we're gonna bring you back at 7:15. Real quick. Dr. Jennings, we have a 7:15 break. I think we need to figure out the technical end before we go forward further. So we're gonna bring you back at 7:15. Okay. We'll see you at 7:15. Maybe we can figure it out on your end. I don't know if it's because I don't know what the difference is. I don't know. Maybe you can't be on speaker. Are you on speaker phone or? Maybe we can figure it out on your end. I don't know.
Okay.
If it's because okay, so we'll be back with Dr. Jennings, guys. Hold on. Somebody said laugh out loud. This is funny. We'll be back. We'll be back with Dr. Jennings. We're having some technical issues. Hey, this is a virtual book fair. We're used to having physical book fairs, and we may have some technical difficulties, but we're going to get through this, okay? So our next person doesn't come on to another, I guess, 11 minutes we have. Let's see if we have any questions in the queue. No, okay, what can we discuss? Anybody want to say anything about Juneteenth? Would you like to let's do a poll. That's what we can do while we're waiting. We're gonna put a poll up right quick. Let's play around a little. Let's launch this poll. If you guys, everybody in the listening audience, if you can take this poll right quick and give us an idea, how many of you just learned about Juneteenth? I'm waiting. Okay. Looks like everybody so far has already known about Juneteenth. That's wonderful. Okay, 7 people have. Oh, we're still voting. The voting process is still taking place. Okay, so we have 1 person so far who just learned about Juneteenth. Interesting. Like I was sharing earlier with one of our authors, I learned about it about 5 years ago. And after learning about it, I thought it was important to bring it into Detroit Book City's platform. I'm African American. I'm very proud of our culture, our heritage, our ancestors who paved the way to allow us to be where we are today. And we still have a lot of books. You know, we have a lot of growth to do. The social change is taking place right now, and you know, I'm hoping that the social change will bring unity among all races and bring us into one limelight. You know, to run our world. You know, it's just, you know, the pandemic has happened, and I don't want to talk too much today, but I'm trying to be a filler in until we get our next speaker up, which will be another 9 minutes. Um, Anybody have any questions or comments? I would love to read and share with all of our um, watching attendees. Anybody have any questions or comments? What does Juneteenth mean to you? Let's talk about that. What does Juneteenth mean to you? I'm not here to promote Janice Haynes. We're here to promote authors. So I'm not going to go into commentary and talk and be knowledgeable about this and that. Let's talk to you guys. I want to hear what you have to say about Juneteenth. Anybody have any comments? Okay, I think we have something here. What would be a good way to advertise an upcoming book during this pandemic? Good question. I say social media. You know, it's technology now. You know, our bookstore, we're temporarily closed right now because of the pandemic. You know, our space is not that big. It's more boutique style, even though we carry like over 300 to 400 titles. But we weren't in a position to put up plexiglass, and it's just safe not to do that yet. So because of that, we have shifted over completely into the online platform of selling books, and social media has been working very well. So I definitely say social media. I mean, it's free advertisement. Facebook, Instagram are great. If you're a Twitter user, it's great. You know, put a blurb in with your picture of your book, and then, you know, link it to where they can get it, whether it's Amazon or on your website or your publisher's website. But definitely social media at this time is the best way. Most people are still at home or working from home. So our phones, our laptops are the key to seeing what's going on out here, who's doing what. So I would say social media. It works out well for Detroit Book City. So, any other questions? We got about 7 minutes. Let's look at the polls. 9 out of 10 said they already knew about Juneteenth, and just one person said they didn't. They just learned about Juneteenth. So let's talk about it. Let's see. Let's go to Juneteenth real quick. Why we celebrate Juneteenth? Juneteenth marks the date of June 19, 1865, when General Gordon Granger of the Union Army arrived in Galveston, Tennessee, Texas, to announce that President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, and demanded that the slaves there be set free. The quote, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present home and work for wages." Following Granger's announcement, the formerly enslaved African Americans broke into celebration. So for 2 years, African Americans remained in bondage across the country, not knowing about their freedom. Today, that celebration, said to be the oldest Black American holiday, is known as Juneteenth. African Americans not only celebrated their freedom, they exercised their new rights by buying land. Since 1980, the state of Texas has observed Juneteenth as an official holiday known as Emancipation Day. Contemporary celebrations of Juneteenth includes parades and street fairs, dancing, picnics and cookouts, family reunions, and historical reenactments across the country, with all nationalities participating. President Barack Obama pointed out in his 2009 proclamation of the holiday that Juneteenth also serves as a time for reflection and appreciation and an opportunity. So that's the the message we put on our timeline today about Juneteenth. For those who are not really familiar with it, it's been around for a long time. It just takes a minute for it to get across to the world that we need to celebrate African American history. Oh, here's a question. We got about 4 minutes. Christine says that explains why Texas at present is the only state that recognizes Juneteenth as an official calendar holiday. Yep, pretty much. But it's starting to spread across the country now. I think more states are starting to realize and they're starting to jump on board, just for equality reasons. I believe that we're all equal, just equal equality, equity across the board is so important. It'll be a better world, so yeah, that's why. Okay, so we're down to 3 minutes. Anybody have any more questions or comments? I would love to bring it up on the board and we can chat about it. I appreciate you all being here today. Like I said, we usually host a physical book fair 4 times a year. We have the African American in February, where we host between 50 and 80 authors, and they're set up and they're exhibit tables, they're all decorated, and they have books, and people walk in and they actually buy autographed books. So this is our new platform. This is the new wave. This is what we have to do to connect our authors to readers. It looks like Marco has a comment here. Is there an official Juneteenth flag? Yes, there is an official Juneteenth flag. And matter of fact, if you go to DetroitBookCity.com/shop, we have that flag listed on our website, on our store, that you can buy. So there is a flag out this way. Yes. So, we're about 2 minutes away from bringing on our next author, who is Sonya Mcnair. She comes on at 7 o'clock. And Sonya has a book called Dangerously Dope Days. This is about Detroit. This is a young adult book, novel fiction, but I believe it's about some real life situations that Sonya experienced. And let's talk about her background since we have 2 minutes left. Let's see, let's talk about Sonya's background. Raised in Detroit, Sonya Mcnair, AKA Black Rose, is an author who had a dream of becoming a writer since the age of 16. She finally made that dream come true in her late 30s after sending her child to college. Ms. Mcnair holds a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Redlands and currently works in the healthcare field. Her biggest want is to be an inspiration to all who feel like it's too late to pursue a dream. And this is her quote: "My hopes is that Dangerously Dope Days is not only entertaining, but touches the hearts and minds of my audience, adult, teen, or in between." Okay, so that's the intro for Sonya Mcnair. And let's go ahead and bring her to the screen. Okay. Zoom decided to bring you in. Hi, Sonya. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. How's it going today? Are you good on this Juneteenth celebration?
It's going wonderful, wonderful.
Great, great. So I was sharing with the audience your background, how you are from Detroit, but now you live somewhere else. Where do you live now?
I live in California right now.
California. How long have you been there?
I have been here probably for I'd say about 15, 16 years.
Okay, so you've been away for a long time. What does Juneteenth mean to you? Let's just jump in. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
For me, Juneteenth means freedom. The blessing to be free and all of the things my ancestors went through to allow me to be free. And so that's what Juneteenth means to me. It means freedom. That freedom that my ancestors didn't have, they weren't born into. And to be born into freedom is a blessing. So,
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Not to be taken advantage of.
Yes.
Share with us Dangerously Dope Days. Listen to the title. Woo! That is definitely a Detroit book
This is my book. I don't know if you can see it,
Yes.
Dangerously Dope Days. It is about a young girl growing up in Detroit, outside of Detroit, around Detroit. The
What era?
culture, yeah, the era. It's the 90s era.
The 90s.
So I always put it, we were dope, we were dangerous in the 90s. I feel like I grew up in that dope era. That's just me. That's the way I feel. So, and Dangerously Dope Days, I felt like the title was given to me because, first of all, we were dangerous, we were
Yes.
dope, and then we lived out our days. So these are the days of our lives. So it's kind of it has the meaning to it that sometimes you don't always get those days where everything's popping.
Right.
Sometimes you just get those days where you crawl out of bed
Mhm.
and you go get something to eat. And
Right.
then you get those days where you see something crazy on the news, or you get those days where you decided to go out and have a drink and party.
Mhm.
But this is about a young lady growing up in Detroit, and she is navigating her way through life from the ages of 11 up to the age of 19. She discovers some things about herself, and I'm hoping it will touch people
Okay.
when they read the story. They'll be entertained, but they'll also be touched by the story.
Right. So is this written in first person? Are you a character in it, or is this a novel? What's happening when you first open the book? What do you feel?
Well, I don't say that I'm a character
Okay.
in the book, but there are some things that I drew off of my life.
Okay.
And so, a lot of people read it and they say, that's you all the way. The people that know me are like, that's you. But I'm like, nah, it's not me. It's
Well, it's
not
coming
me.
from your soul. So,
It is coming from my soul. It is coming from experiences, different
mhm,
experiences that I've had. And I also wanted to let the teen readers know that do read this book. There are some mature subject matters,
mhm.
but we dealt with mature subject matters.
And
And
they are too. They're dealing
yes,
with it too.
and even though I'm not a teenager anymore, I'm considered old now.
Yeah.
My son, he knows that mama was young once.
Right.
Maybe I don't want to know everything she did, but
Right.
I did draw off of my life. But the character in the book is fictional.
So tell us about who's the character. Is it what's the main character name, and does she have friends, or
Her name is Cheyenne.
because we're trying to sell your book, we want them to buy your book. So tell us about Cheyenne. I mean, does she have homies?
Cheyenne is crazy. She
Okay.
don't take nothing off of nobody.
But she's a tough
Cheyenne,
Detroit girl.
yeah, she a Detroit girl. She starts off with those hands and she ends with those hands. Like you're not gonna punk her. She's from the DET.
Okay.
You are not gonna punk her. She has this thing about her where she doesn't start anything, but she finishes it.
Okay.
So she will most definitely finish you if you get up in her face. But one thing about Cheyenne is she has this identity that she's had to develop of strength,
Okay.
and she moves at she listens to the men in her life, how they tell her to navigate herself.
Mhm.
She has a sense of self, but you can tell in the book that she also has a specific amount of vulnerability.
Okay.
So, you
And
could
she's
tell
how
that
old? How old is she in the book?
in the book she goes from 11 years old to 19 years
Okay.
old.
So it's a coming of
It's a
age time.
span. It's a span years, but you see where, when you start to see her tears, you start to see where she becomes a little girl.
Okay.
But she has to deal with mature subject matters in her life.
So she's challenged. She's an urban city child. She's an urban
Hmm.
city teenager, and she's challenged with a lot of things,
Yes,
pretty
a
much.
whole lot of things.
A whole lot.
A whole lot of things. Yes, yes.
Are there any other important characters that play in the book with her, or just
Well,
friends?
Mama and Auntie, which you'll grow to love and hate.
Her
She
family's there.
also, yes, I also wrote a character who is dear to my heart. Name is Mike. I don't want to give the whole book away, but he is the character that I really love. I really wrote him from a place of what I long for a male character to be in my life when
Gotcha.
I was a little girl.
Do you have an excerpt you want to read to us from the book, or maybe the back of it? What do you, anything?
Um,
We're trying to sell
I
your book, so they have to feel, they have to see it.
so I pulled something kind of funny,
Okay.
which is about my time and how we spent time at Belle Isle.
Belle Isle. Yes, we did. I'm from Detroit too. I'm a native Detroiter. We spent time at Belle Isle.
So it was the little teenage years. So I'll read it.
Okay.
It says, "You look good," some dude yelled from his car. Belle Isle, the place to be on Saturday nights at the island. Cars roll bumper to bumper, up and back, and at about 5 miles per hour. It seems stupid, but it's fun as hell. Milan begged me to go up there with her. After the Pontiac incident, I refused to hop in the car and go anywhere with her driving, not even to the store. Once my father found out that I refused to ride alone, he felt sorry for her and lifted the ban of her driving the car without me. After a month, at about a month after the ban got lifted, he reinstated it. Daddy found out Milan was sneaking off to see Spider. Even though Milan's an idiot, I felt a little sorry for her. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't go anywhere but to school and back. Since I heard about how live the island was, when Milan asked me to go, I agreed. It's me, Kat, and Milan, chilling and riding.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like the high school days.
Yeah.
Wow. I just had a flashback of me and Sheila hanging out. We had some good times in our little
Yes.
years.
Some real good times.
Yeah, some really good times. So I have someone has a question. She wants to know:
Okay.
is there a how do you rate the language of the book? How do you rate the language?
Um, I am a Christian woman,
Oh,
and I did try to stay true to that. It was hard because I wanted to keep the realness of the book,
okay.
but I did hold back on language. It is very PG. There are some parts in there that where certain things happen in all of our lives. I don't think I need to go into that.
Okay.
And some of us were older than the others, so I will say that some of us were older than others. But I would rate it as if you were rating a movie as PG.
Okay. PG. PG 13 or PG?
Um, some parents might say it's PG-13. I
Yeah.
say it's PG only because of the way I grew up. I feel like it's PG,
It's
but
normal. Yeah,
it was normal.
it was normal. Yeah. It's
Yes,
urban setting. It's normal for us.
yes.
She wants to know if there's a glossary too in the book. Glossary.
An index, yes,
Oh,
yes.
wonderful.
That
How
it,
many,
it
how
does.
many pages?
The book
Pretty
is
big.
it's big. It's pretty big. It's 381 pages.
Is it a chapter book?
Yes, it is a chapter
Chapter
book.
book. That's wonderful. Let's see the title. Let's see the cover again. Put the cover
Okay.
to the screen. That's has a very nice cover. It's very attractive and it's eye catching. That's for sure. It makes you want to read, especially if you're an urban reader. Urban
Thank
fiction
you.
reader. Yeah, her book
Thank
was
you.
on sale in our store too before we temporarily closed. So um, that's awesome. Now this book, you published this book when? When did it come out?
I published it in 2018.
2008. This your
Yeah,
debut book? This your first one?
yes, this is my first one. I spent a lot of time being a parent. And I also embarrassingly spent a lot of time on the hamster wheel. So, when I got to be a certain age and sent my son to college, I said, you want to do what it is that you love,
Right.
and if I can encourage anybody who is on here, I just want them to do what it is that I want people, especially Black people, to do what it is that they love. We've been pushed into so many different corners
Right.
and categories, and
Now you're free.
yes, you have to do this, you have to do that,
Uh-huh.
you have to be put in a box. But once I got to be a certain age, I said, this box is over. I'm tired of the box.
Well, this is
And
amazing. I commend you. It's amazing. Your book is amazing.
thank you.
So young adult reader, so I would say 16 and up. It's a comfortable fit for 16 and up.
Yeah.
And you definitely can learn about the urban world, the city, the big city,
Yeah.
and their experiences. That's wonderful. Well, congratulations on your book. Do we
Thank
have
you
any
so
more
much.
questions from the audience? From Sonya Mcnair. She is just tuning in. She is the author of Dangerously Dope Days. It's a young adult novel. It takes place in Detroit in the 90s. So that should be interesting for you right there. Detroit in the 90s. That's an interesting setting and time. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to the platform about your book, or
Um,
tell us how they can get your book? How about that? How do they get the book?
you can always go to Amazon. The hard copy, the paperback book is $21.99.
Okay.
The Kindle book is $2.99. So you can go to Amazon and get it. You can go to Barnes and Nobles and get it
Oh,
online.
okay.
Of course, you can come down to Detroit Book City and get it.
As soon as we open, we're working out ways right now because we have several people that sell their book on consignment in our store, like yourself. So I'm working out a way to convert this over because this is electronics now, and that was like bookshelf. So that's why you guys haven't heard from me yet, but we'll get into that later. But yes, Detroit Book City does have her book, and it will be put up really soon. Well, thank you
And
so much, Sonya, for
thank
coming on our
you.
show and celebrating Juneteenth with us. And what does it feel like to be a Black writer today? I mean, you think about the
Um,
Black writers in the past. What does it feel like? We had Zora Neale and we had
Toni Morrison.
Toni Morrison. What does it feel like in 2020? I mean, it's a lot of Black authors floating out here now. I mean, they're everywhere.
I think we get out happier stories, even
Mhm.
though some of our stories may be bittersweet. We get to get out different from different walks of life. We get to get out different stories from different walks of life. And I think we're a little bit more free in our writing.
Yes.
I think back in that time, there was such a climate that there was a need to write about specific subjects.
Mhm.
I think that Black writers in 2020 get to be free. We get to stretch.
Yeah.
Um, there's people who have been to all sorts of countries, Black women, Black men. They have experienced so many different things about life. It's
Mhm.
so much more to write about.
Yes, it is. It's a lot to write about. This is
So that's how
beginning
I
for
feel
us.
as a writer in 2020.
Yeah, I think it's more Black writers today than ever before. We finally have the freedom to write because at one point during the Civil War era, we couldn't write. We weren't allowed to read or write.
No,
So it's freedom.
you couldn't write anything.
You couldn't write
Yeah,
anything,
it's
and
freedom.
you couldn't read anything. So this is freedom. That's why we celebrate today. I have one person
Exactly.
to ask: any online book platforms that are Black owned that we can purchase the book? Yes, Detroit Book City. We'll be putting it up this week. We have to put all of our independent authors up. It's just been a roller coaster since the pandemic. It's like
Yeah.
everything shifted so fast. And then
Yes.
we got bombarded. We thank all of you guys who are participating watchers today, who are watching and listening, because you guys really support Detroit Book City. I mean, our store went to another level after the pandemic, which is
Yeah.
strange, but we receive it. We receive all the blessings that come our way, and we have some dynamic books on our site. We have some dynamic authors in our store that are independent writers. So thank you so much, Sonya Mcnair, for being on
Thank
our
you.
show.
Thank you for having me.
We will be posting your book next week. So if it's anybody in the listening audience that would like to buy her book, we will definitely have it up next week. Okay. Sonya, take care. Happy Juneteenth,
Thank
and
you.
we'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Thank
Have a
you.
good one. You too. Okay. That was wonderful. Sonya Mcnair, her book again is called Dangerously Dope Days. It's a young adult novel, and it takes place in Detroit. I mean, really, really good book if you want to understand the urban kid or the urban teenager in Detroit and some of the circumstances that they go through and some of the barriers and some of the walls of resistance that they face, but also some of the fun times that they have among their peers. That book probably has a lot of history in there that I can relate to as a teenager that was raised in Detroit. So, that's a good read. It's a really thick book too. So I kind of opened up and flipped over the first few pages, and it was definitely eye-catching. It caught me instantly, just the dialogue and the conversation and the way it was flowing. It caught my eye, and probably because I was raised here. So I think that makes a difference when you're raised in an urban city and you pick up a book like that. So we congratulate and commend Sonya Mcnair for her masterpiece. Okay, let's see if we can bring Dr. Jennings back to our platform. Let's see if technology is in our favor. It's 7:15. We're normally supposed to take a break right now, but let's see if we can bring Dr. Jennings back to the platform. Dr. Jennings? Okay, we got the technology underway. Hi, Dr. Jennings. We're going to try it again.
Okay, I can see you. I don't see myself.
I can see you.
You can see me?
Yes.
I can't see myself.
Well, you know what? Don't worry about seeing yourself because now we don't have that feedback. And I can.
Okay, that's cool. Let me see how many of you. Okay, it's a questionnaire on the Anyway, how are you? I'm happy to be here. I don't really see anything but you.
That's good enough. Well, let me introduce you again because some people may have not been on the call when we introduced you first. But Dr. Jennings was an original member of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, where she learned her philosophy of Black self-help and unity. She has been teaching and writing about Black resistance for over 25 years. She is a professor, so keep that in mind. She is the author of academic articles, poetry, and 2 academic books. Today, Dr. Jennings just recently published a book called Poetry and the Black Panther Party, From Ancestral Memory, Morphogenetic Fields to Hip Hop.
That's right.
Tell us, Dr. Jennings. Oh my gosh, I know you have been through history with the Black audience, the Civil Rights Movement.
That's right.
Tell us what Juneteenth means to you. You're a professor. You teach college.
It means a great deal, and I really want people who may not know that much about it to learn as much about it as you can. First of all, as a teacher, I really want to get across to Black people that it's important that we learn our history for ourselves from our perspectives. Read Black historians, read Black writers. And Janice, this is why I'm so happy to be participating in this book series here that you put together, because we want our people to read more.
Yes, I agree.
Let me tell you another thing about Juneteenth. Understand that we were owned by some of the most barbaric people on the planet for 3 centuries. We were owned by them. Some of their worst habits, they took out on us. And I want the brothers and sisters to know this too. When you see us acting crazy, it goes back to our enslavement. When you see us making wrong decisions, it goes back to our enslavement. So one of the things I always tell my students, I really want to prepare them to be leaders for the next generation and the next generation. Imitating these people who owned us is not a good thing for us. And let me tell you something else that will lead me into my book. When the whites first came to Africa, my people, understand that Africans fought them. There were Black queens that I write about. You've never heard of them? I only heard of them because I do extensive research. Who fought the French and the English and beat them. There, of course, were Black men who fought and died, but we lost the war. That's how we became Americans, or they used to call us Negroes with a little N, and then of course we evolved into African American, and Malcolm X was the first person to use that term. Now, Black men instinctively recognize that they lost the war against whites. And I even write about that in my book, Poetry and the Black Panther Party, because many Black Panther authors wrote poetry.
Right.
And I wanted to show that side of the Black Panther Party, you see. And what I do in this book is analyze the poetry that was written in the Black Panther Party newspaper. You see, Black men have a real, and they don't like to talk about this. Anybody who's listening to me who's married or in a relationship with a man, you know that they don't always like to talk, period. Okay? One of the reasons that they don't, it's psychological. That's where the morphogenetic fields comes from in the title of my book, because I've studied quantum physics, which are the energies that are invisible to us, but they are everywhere around us. Okay? The lost war against the whites is in the Black man's psychology. And some acted out incorrectly. Others tried to mute it. And today, many try to escape it. So my book, I wanted to take a psychological view of the Black writers in the Black Panther Party, and I wanted to compare it to ancestral memory, which is an African retention that we all still have.
Now, speaking of poetry in the Black Panther Party, from ancestral memory, morphogenetic fields to hip hop,
Yeah.
I opened up your book. Wow. There is so much information in that book that I couldn't get past the first page because I had to get my glossary, my thesaurus out. Google, I had to dig deep into each subject matter to understand it before I go forward.
Oh.
That book is phenomenal. And it really, when you open it up, it talks about the Black Panther Party, all the good things that they were doing for the community that were kind of downsized,
Yes.
and buried, and of course, death ended with some of it. But talk to us about that book. Where did it come from? Why did you put this book on the market? By the way, how many pages is this book? How many pages?
I think about 416. And this is a scholarly book. That doesn't mean that only students or academicians are supposed to read it. I want everyone to read my book. This book took me 13 years to research and write. For one, I had to travel around the country and gather Panther papers. The Black Panther Party movement ended in the late 80s, around 1988. So I had to gather the papers, and then I had to read the poetry and then examine what the psychological issues were in that poetry. So this is what I've done with this book, is bring forward a literature that has been lost, because who even knew Black Panthers wrote poetry?
You're right.
That's right.
They didn't know that the Black Panthers wrote poetry. They didn't know they were on the corners reciting Black poetry.
That's true.
You know, they got in trouble and got arrested for reciting Black poetry.
That is exactly correct. You know, and like people today, it's so funny when, you know, I hear about slam competitions or spoken word or whatever, that comes straight out of the 1960s and the Black arts movement, which influenced Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, the founders of the Black Panther Party.
And Bobby Seals did your foreword, correct?
Say that again.
He wrote your foreword to your book?
Yes, he did, Bobby. First of all, he could not believe that the poetry that he recited so long ago had touched me. So, and it did. It did indeed. In fact, Bobby got arrested for just doing a poem, a public poem, and the police grabbed him. And this is before the Panthers.
Mhm.
And they said, stop reciting that poem. It was Bobby and Huey. They were just friends. They weren't even thinking about starting an organization. So that poem that Bobby did, which is in my book, got him and Huey arrested. A poem. And it tells you.
What was said in that poem that would get them arrested? What's the name of that poem? Tell the world.
Uncle Sammy called me full of Lucifer. And by the way, it's not many curse words. I mean, it's not, it's not an X-rated poem. But this was during the 1960s. I think it was 1966. And the Vietnam War was raging. And so the poem was a black man's resentment of the war. And the police heard Bobby reciting the poem, told him to stop. He ignored them because he said, I have free speech. I am in America. Oh, really? Well, they dragged, and it was a crowd around him. It was a big crowd, and it was a multiracial crowd because he was on a college campus. Many people don't realize that Bobby Seale and Huey Newton were college students.
Don't know the history. The history is
They were college students. So Bobby jumps up on a chair, does a poem, and the campus police told him to stop. When he wouldn't, they called in backup, and a fight broke out, and Bobby and Huey were arrested together. That is the first time that those brothers were arrested together. And from that arrest, I mean, life is so deep, isn't it? From that arrest, they knew, no, we can't keep taking this from the police. And you know what? I even want to bring this up because of the tragic death of George Floyd.
It's going on right now. It reminds you of the 60s, what's going on right now. It reminds you of the
That's what's going on. Listen, one of the good things about technology, well, two of the good things about technology. I'm in Philadelphia, you're in Detroit, and we can communicate. That's a good thing.
To the world.
Yes.
The world.
And because that young lady filmed the murder, that was murder. That wasn't a killing, that was murder or an assassination. And call it that.
Yeah.
Call it that. Don't say the death of he was murdered. Not unlike these same kinds of people used to string up black men, women, and children on trees. And by the way, you do notice, I hope your readers and listeners notice, there are cases right now of black men being lynched across the country.
Yes, I saw that on the news a couple of days ago.
And they're trying to say that suicide. No, that's not suicide. If a brother wanted to take his life, it wouldn't be, I'm going to hang myself from it. That's just.
Especially from a tree these days.
Oh, yes.
Where's your book at? Let's see your book. Can you put your book up?
Okay, let me see if I can get it on the screen.
Okay.
Is it the share screen that I hit?
Yeah, you have to share screen.
Okay, because oops. I'm scared because I don't want to lose.
I know, new technology. Bear with us, guys.
There it is. Can people see it?
I can't see it.
You can't?
I see you still. I still see you.
Okay, you still see it. Let me try. Okay, I'm seeing, I don't know how to do it. Let me see. Let's see. Post. All right, let me just hold it up.
Yeah, just hold it up.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit higher. There we go. This is the book, guys, with Bobby Seals on the front and Huey Newton on the front cover. Dr. Jennings paid quite a bit of money to have that picture on the front of her book. But this 400 plus pages of facts, realities, and experiences that took place during the 60s. And then it also has her academic spin on it and some very big, hard words. and subject matters that will make you dig deeper and want to know more. I like how you introduced the queens in there. You
Yes.
talked about the queens that I had never heard of. That is so educational. I recommend it to every household so they'll understand that role that the Black Panthers had during that era. You know, it's amazing. I commend you on that book. Who's your reader? Who should be reading that book?
Okay, this is very important because I wrote this book, even though it's filled with quantum physics. I had to study Einstein's theory of relativity. I don't want to get too complex, but Einstein's theory of relativity talked about what we can see, like you can see me, but there is an energy inside of me that you cannot see. The same energy that is inside of you. Religious people will call it your soul. That's fine. But the soul has energy, okay? And that energy links to the sun, the moon, and all of the planets. And I wanted my readers, my Black readers, because I wrote this for Black people now. If other people buy my book, cool. Right. But this is for you, Black people. What I did here too, I gave a history of our Black literary tradition. I also have given a history of Black resistance because brothers and sisters do not know how much we resisted and won many battles. Even though we lost the war because we're here, there is a Black resistance tradition in America and abroad. This is what I want our people to know. We didn't just march. We didn't just write letters. We didn't just protest. We fought back. And I will say this because it's the truth.
Yeah, many people don't realize that we fought back. They think that, you know, they came over to Africa and they just grabbed us. They don't realize that there was battle.
Absolutely.
You didn't want to go.
What I do here is list many of the battles.
And you have references in the back too. So
I have everything that I have in this book. I have the books that you could go to and check me out.
Wonderful. Such a great book, guys. Tell the world how they can get your book. How do they get your book?
My book is, there are some private booksellers selling my book, but on Amazon.com, and my book just went to Kindle. So you can either get the Kindle edition or the paperback edition. And I will say this to you too. Any of you that buy the paperback edition, my email address is on the back of the book. If you want your book autographed, you can send it to me. I will autograph it, send it back to you. And any questions that you might have about anything I've written, we can start a dialogue. And if you write a book review for me on Amazon, when my poetry book comes out, which will be either the end of this month,
okay, that's futures,
or early July, I will send you a personal copy.
Wonderful.
And this poetry book is, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it, but it's my experience in the Black Panther Party when I was a teenage runaway and all that happened to me over the time that I was in the Black Panther poetry. I write it out in poems.
Well, we are so glad that you participated in our Juneteenth virtual book fair. Your book is amazing. You guys, you do have to get a copy of this book. When you open it up, she talks about her history, how she started, you know, how she became a member of the Black Panther Party. So it's a very, very interesting read. It's history. And got a few more seconds because I know we're running over, but we have to run over with this one. You teach Black history, right? Black literature, Black history.
Yes, I do.
It's an online course that you'll teach?
It's an online course because, okay, teaching college is one thing, and it's been wonderful. But those students come to me where they paid a lot of money. Many of them have taken out loans. It's a mess. Because I am a Black nationalist freedom fighter who was taught by Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, I wanted to do something Black online so that any person who wants to study with me can. This
That's
is what I wanted. And believe it or not, it's my course is called Black Literature and Black Writing. Anyway, all of that information is in the book. Um, most of my students are blacks from Africa or England.
oh,
It's deep.
interesting.
Yes.
We will definitely post your information after the show that so people can have access to it. And
Yeah.
we will start selling your book in our store. We're online right now, but we'll discuss that how we can get your book available because most people are supporting independent Black bookstores now
Yes.
instead of Amazon. So I don't really want to send people to Amazon, but out of respect, I do mention it because that's a location that they can get it. But
Right.
we talk about how they can buy it at our store.
I would rather they buy it from you.
We would too.
Quite
I'm
frankly.
very, very proud of that book. That's an
Mhm.
excellent book. You did an amazing job, and we thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, Janine.
Thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Wait, do we have any questions real quick? Anybody in the audience have any questions before we let the wonderful Dr. Regina Jennings know? She's a strong one, and she's very super smart. And she's a Gemini, by the way. She just had a birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Any questions before we leave the screen? Cost of the book. Good question, Margot. What's the cost of the book?
Say that again.
The cost of the book? How much does your book
The
cost?
book is $35, softback, paperback. The Kindle is $20.
All right, wonderful. And the title of the book again?
Poetry and the Black Panther Party. From ancestral memory, morphogenetic fields to hip hop.
Okay, hold it up one more time to the screen so they can see it. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us at the Juneteenth Virtual Book Fair, where we are featuring Black writers around the world. You guys just met Dr. Regina Jennings out of Philadelphia, right?
That's right.
Okay, we so appreciate you, and thanks for being a part of our platform.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Regina Jennings. I'm always very excited to talk to Dr. Jennings because she is a professor and she teaches Black studies. And, when you say Black studies, there's so much to learn behind Black studies. It's just not a 1 day, 1 month, 1 year thing. It's continual. And because we weren't educated in our school system about our history, there's a lack of knowledge. There's a lack of knowledge in our community. We don't, the majority of us do not know about our history. I'm a bookstore owner. I'm an avid book reader, and I love history and always have loved history. And I'm reading her book, and it's like, these are things that I just never heard of. That's how phenomenal this book is. I have a bookmark, and I said, I got to come back to this. Every time I read a line in that book, it's like I have to open up Google. I'm like, am I just like really slow or but I have to open up Google and Google these phrases and these people that I absolutely never heard of. It's phenomenal. You must get that book. Okay, look like Stephanie said, would love to pre-order a copy from Detroit Book City. Yes, we're going to have that book up next week for sure. You will definitely learn some history from Dr. Regina Jennings. Matter of fact, we brought her in February, right before the pandemic hit. She was our guest speaker at the African American Family Book Expo 2020 on February the 22nd. She was our guest speaker. She was an honorary speaker, and she sold plenty of books that weekend. So that book is really, really needed to be on the market. It's really going to answer a bunch of questions you have. And I think the book is $30, she said, $30. So it's worth the buy. All right, let's continue with the Detroit Book City virtual book fair. Our next speaker, or not speaker, our next author is, we're a little bit behind, 10 minutes, but that's okay because we're going to go on to 9 o'clock. So if we run over a little bit, that's fine. I think it's important that we get to know these authors, who they are, and what they're writing about before we release them. So a little overtime is fine. Erica Quinn is our next Black book author. She's written a memoir. Her book is called You Know My Name, But Not My Story. And she's also the author of several other titles, I believe 8 books. So she's a very active writer. She was born in Inkster, Michigan. She started professionally writing in 2014 at the age of 45. Did you hear that? So it's never too late to start writing. She has an associate degree in computer graphics. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome, Erica Quinn to the platform. Erica, are you there? Let's see, let's give her a few minutes. Erica? There she is. Hi, Erica. How are you? I can't hear you, but I can see you.
There we go.
There we go. Boy, you look cute and cultural today. You look like
Juneteenth.
America's sister. June. What's going on? Everything's good?
Yeah, mom got through her surgery good. And so when I finish here, I got to go back up to the hospital and check on her.
Okay, look like we had a screen freeze right quick.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, let's give it a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, you froze, but.
Okay, we can still hear each other, so that's the main thing, right?
Right.
Okay, because I know I'm a little bit late with talking to Dr. Regina Jennings. I just couldn't get her off the platform. She's so educational and she knows that Black history, so it was hard to release her. But
right.
Welcome to Detroit Book City's Juneteenth Virtual Book Fair. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
Well, to me, what Juneteenth means is I've celebrated Juneteenth for quite some time, at least 10 years or more. And so for me, Juneteenth is not just about a freedom that we are yet still fighting for, because we are not completely free, but it is about community. It is about culture, and it is about heritage. And here in Colorado, where I live, Juneteenth was always, or has always been, the highlight of the year for us in the African American community. It is a time where you experience our music, our dance, our gospel, our food, our clothing, just our culture as a whole. And so that's what it means to me: community, culture, and heritage.
Awesome. That's just the best way to describe it. You described it completely. And it's such a fun occasion. You know, we had hosted a couple of events during Juneteenth in 2017 and 18, and we had them outside. And one of those years it was so hot and it rained, and messed up our occasion, but it's just the whole energy of Juneteenth. It's like, it's something to hold on to, you know? It's something to hold on to when you have been deprived of your history, and you haven't really learned a lot growing up about your history unless you did it on your own.
Right.
You know, unless your family was connected to history and they taught you in the household. But most of the Black culture has not had that advantage. So Juneteenth is a time to appreciate, dive in, and learn more about Black history and our ancestors.
Yes.
How they fought and they're resilient for us, you know? So let's talk about these books that you have written. I mean, where do I start? Let's see. Tell us about the most recent book. It's You Know My Name, but Not My Story. It's a memoir, right?
Yes, it is.
Tell us about that book. When did you decide, and how did you decide to write this memoir at 45?
And I'm actually 50 now, but the way that this book came about was as I began to, sorry, something popped up on my screen. As I began
Let's
to,
let's keep talking. We can hear you very well.
Okay. As I began to come into the knowledge of the trauma that I experienced as a child and going forward as a teenager, as I begin to relive that and unpack that because I had suppressed it for so many years, So at age 33, I began to have these weird nightmares and dreams and was trying to figure out where is all this coming from. And I began to, through having counseling and things like that, I began to unpack all of this. And so, You Know My Name, But Not My Story is kind of my, it's my breakthrough book. It is what brought me from being victimized to becoming a survivor and launching me into becoming victorious over the trauma that transpired in my life. So it is a true account of the trauma that I went through, the molestation, sexual abuse, the rapes, and the physical, not physical, but the mental and the emotional abuse that I experienced throughout my life. So that's kind of how the book came about and why I wrote that particular book.
So who is your book for? I mean, is it for someone who's been through?
It's for someone who's been through trauma. Maybe you're in a traumatic situation right now. Maybe you know somebody who is coming out of that. And so it's a book designed to let you know that you do have a voice, that you're not alone, and that your story, though to some may be tragic, can be transformed into something amazing and powerful.
How many pages is this book?
I believe it's just, I think about 101 pages, I believe.
Do you have your book with you?
Well, I don't, and for some reason I can't pull it up on my screen right now. It did not come in time.
Oh, it's new. It's brand new.
Yeah, and so it was supposed to be delivered before I came to Tennessee to take care of my mom, and it did not show up thanks to the pandemic. So,
That's okay. So your book,
I don't have it with me at the moment.
And it's called You Know My Name, But Not My Story.
Correct.
Now, you're the author of a couple other book titles. Are they urban fiction or what?
Yes. So I'm kind of an eclectic writer.
Okay.
And so I write inspirational, I write related.
Okay, you're freezing up just a little bit. Just continue to talk. Look like we're experiencing a little technical.
A leverage to my business that I just started, which all is a combination of me writing the first book, You Know My Name, But Not My Story.
Right.
But I have a couple of other books. Speak to the King and Me is probably one of my favorites. And it is a book of inspirational quotes to men.
$30 there, $30. So.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. So Speak to the King of Me is a book of inspirational quotes or affirmational quotes for men. And so it's a great book to have for if you've got a husband, boyfriend, your sons, your nephews, your male cousins, your male co-workers. And it is for it's geared towards African-American men and just uplifting them because they do go through so much when they leave the house every day.
So you wrote this book for Black men?
Yes.
Wow. And when did you write this book?
I wrote this book. This book would have been written in 2015.
Do you have any sons?
I do. I have two boys, one 15 and one who will be 27 in August.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's awesome. We are so glad to have you on our show to discuss your beautiful writings. I believe that we all have stories, and I believe stories matter.
Yes.
I believe Black writers matter.
Yes.
Without our stories, we don't. Our stories can teach us a lot of things. It can heal us. It can help us understand situations. It can expand our imagination about things. people, places, and things.
Right.
And we decided to host this platform because we wanted to introduce to the world what Black writers are writing about these days. You know, a lot of times, you know, people don't have access to Black books. They're hard to find. You can't go to Barnes and Nobles or Books A Million and find a large array of African American written books. Now you can come to Detroit Book City and find it, okay? Right. But when you go into these big box bookstores, you can't find our books on the shelves. It'll be a small section.
Right.
So this platform is designed so that, you know, we can introduce you guys and let people know you exist. Like I mentioned to the audience before, we usually host a physical book fair, but you know, the authors are exhibiting, their tables are decorated, they have their books, they have their laptops showing their promos, and you get to walk up and meet these authors and get a signed copy of it. Phenomenal events. I mean, great energy. And it's like, it's so unique and rewarding to watch the authors meet and greet, you know, readers, people who are coming out to actually read. So we're excited that you are here. Congratulations on your memoir. What's the future for you?
So right now I am actually getting ready to send my newest book off to formatting, which is entitled Breaking the Silence.
I think we're experiencing some technical shortages on her end over there. We're still here. We can't hear you yet, but we'll wait for you to come back in a few seconds.
To understand that they are trauma transformers and that they can regain their voice and discover success in themselves. And so that's kind of where I am at this point. I am still writing the urban fiction. I have my Beauty in the Streets. I have to finish the conclusion for that. And there's other books that I've written, Shorty and Savage, a Detroit love story, and The Love of a Real Heater and a Thug, a Detroit tale. And so I'm still doing my urban fiction writing as well, still going to be doing that, but moving and shifting into another area as well.
Right. So so your book, the latest one is You Know My Name, But Not My Song. Not my story. How do they get access to your books?
So for You Know My Name, But Not My Story, it is available on Amazon. It is available on Amazon. However, if you want an autographed copy, you can go to py.pl/2DDLSO, and I'll put that in the comments. And there you can purchase it directly through me, and I will be able to order it, autograph it, and send it to you. All of my other books are available on Amazon at, if you just go to Amazon and you type in author Erica Quinn.
Erica with an A.
And it's Erica with an A, Arica Quinn. They can order those books there if you like them. If you would like them to be autographed, you can let me know. And likewise with those, you can send them to me. I'll autograph them and send it back.
Okay, we just had a question. Someone said, what was the name of that book again? What's the name of your book again?
You Know My Name, But Not My Story.
And it's how many pages?
It's about 101 pages.
And if someone was to gift your book to someone, who would they gift it to?
They would gift it to someone who's either been through trauma, has experienced trauma, someone who's experienced molestation, abuse, rape, or someone that may be in that situation and needs an encouragement that they can come out of that situation. Sometimes we need to hear somebody else has gone through it, because when you're in that, you really honestly do believe that you are the only one. And you don't realize that there's other people who have either lived your story or maybe living your story. And so that's who that book would be for.
So if there's a support group out here for someone who's going through abuse, this would be a good book to kind of bring in to read and probably come back and have some feedback. Are you explaining things that happen in your life, or are you just giving solutions?
Oh no, I'm you know my name, but not my story is actually my story. So I'm like completely transparent and putting it all out there of this is what I actually went through. And then the book that I'm finishing working on, the Breaking the Silence After Trauma, 7 Keys to Regaining Your Voice, that is the book that will provide some insight and some solutions, things that I learned to help me get to the point that I am now.
Awesome. Well, we so appreciate you. Congratulations on your new titled book. I see that you are a avid writer, and we appreciate you as a Black writer. We want you to know from our heart, Detroit Book City appreciate you. And we look forward to getting your books in our hands too, and possibly selling it through our online store. I have to work out a new arrangement with our independent book authors to put them on the online store, because it looked like it's going to be our platform for a while. And we don't want you guys to lose sales or disconnect with people because we don't have a store. Okay. Well, it's great to have you. Do you have any questions for Erica? Anyone has any questions before we release her to the world, to the universe? I don't think we have any questions yet. No? Okay. Well, happy Juneteenth, sister.
You too.
And we will chat with you soon. And thank you so much for participating in our Juneteenth virtual book fair.
Thank you so much. I truly enjoyed being here.
You have a blessed weekend.
You too.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Erica Quinn, and she wrote her own memoir. And again, that book is titled You Know My Name, But Not My Story. She's a very sophisticated sister with a lot of knowledge about healing and trauma. So I haven't had a chance to really get inside of her book, but we're on Amazon. I think they'll let you take a peek inside to see if it's something that suits what you're looking for. So we thank her so much for participating in this wonderful virtual platform celebrating Juneteenth. Thank you so much, Erica. Let's see. Let's get a guy. We have one male author with us today, and I'm sure he's been waiting on hold for a while. Mr. Craig Rush. Craig Rush is the author of No Time to Hate, Lexia Henson's Journal of Enlightenment. I believe this is a book about a family member, but I'm going to let him talk to you about his book today. So without any further ado, we are pleased to welcome Mr. Craig Rush to the platform. Hi, Craig. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, fine. I just love your red background. It matches my blue.
Thank you.
So good,
How's everything?
Everything is good. Celebrating Juneteenth. I'm talking to
Yes.
you guys this evening in the comfort of my home with my Juneteenth t-shirt on.
Right.
So comfortable and relaxed,
That's a good thing.
Yes,
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 it
yes.
is.
So tell us what does Juneteenth mean to you? I didn't get to do a full introduction on you because we're running a little bit behind.
Yeah.
What Juneteenth means to you, then you're going to tell us about who you are and about your book. Your phenomenal book.
Okay. Juneteenth, what it means to me, it means hope, tears, and fears.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick insert.
Okay.
I weep at night alone in my room. So many tears, so many fears that I cannot show. No one would understand the strength in my tears, so I cry alone. I look to the sky and ask, why did so many have to die to be free? I know, dear Lord, that you have it all planned, but I still don't understand why so many have died in this land. There's strength in my tears. And that's what this day makes me think about it.
That's very powerful.
Yes, yes.
Every word of that was powerful.
Thank you.
Because I
Yeah.
believe most of us between my generation and your generation, we're feeling that. That's a reality.
It is a reality.
We try to stay in our higher self,
Hmm.
but that energy, that reality energy, and the things that our ancestors went through to, provide pathways for us
Right.
to excel, it was a struggle.
It
And
was a
I
struggle.
feel their struggle. I feel their struggle.
Yes. Yes. It's a continual. And see, and that's the thing, like I say, so many of us are crying by ourselves, and we need to share the tears. We need to put that into perspective and understand. And both sides need to understand that.
Yes.
Because in tears, it shows humanity. And seeing a lot of the problem is people don't believe that we're humans.
I don't know why we speak, dream, hear, smell the same way.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
especially black men. So, but black women been through a lot as well. So,
Right. Right. But we're taught to hide it, as I read in the poem. That's in the book as well, with a few other heart, bottom of the soul touching poems and verses. Yeah, but it's just something that we have to change, and it's okay to cry.
but
It's so to cry.
social change takes unity to me. It takes unity, and we have to deal with pre-existing conditions. So it's
Yes.
gonna take a while, but I'm loving the movement that's coming around. It's similar to the '60s, but we have so many different other cultures that are involved that weren't walking.
Hmm. Right.
So it's a shift.
Oh, it's a shift, and it has to remain a continual shift.
It has to sustain
It,
itself. It must sustain
it has to. It has to.
itself.
And we have to educate ourselves. We need to go back to the past, because what happens is when you don't understand the past and the truths of the past, then you're more apt to repeat the past. And so
Mm.
yeah, and yes, and we're at a point, to where we have to come to the realization, which I put big emphasis on. There is only one race, and it's the human race.
Human race.
The human race. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. If you believe in the ape and evolution, it still came from one seed,
Once,
regardless. And we have to understand that, and that's where we all have to unite. And that's what my book talks about.
and that's
We,
where your book comes in. No
yes,
time to hate.
yes, yes.
Tell us about your book. What is No Time to Hate? What's that book about?
It's about my second great grandfather, Lexia Simpson. And he was
That's your great grandfather or your great great?
second great.
Okay.
And he was one of the richest Negroes slash mulatto, politically correct in this day and age, biracial.
Okay.
And he was the son of a doctor from
Oh,
South Carolina. Now, this is taking place in the 1830s. He
okay.
was born in 1830
Okay.
and on. So that meant that his father was a doctor in the late 1700s. And see, and history doesn't want you to know about these positive things.
Mhm.
And that's what this book is. It's a very positive story. It talks about the atrocities as well, but it's more of a book of enlightenment and his philosophies, because he had a restaurant saloon, and mind you, it was one of the finest restaurant saloons in the country and compared to those abroad. I mean, he had the finest linen, even his attire. He had the pearl buttons down, silverware with his logo on it, things unheard of that you could not even fathom for a Negro to have in those days.
And what days were those again? What years?
He was born in 1830, so this was around 1860. This is during the pre and post Civil War, when just bedlam. So he was in the era where the slavery, all of that, everything was going on. And he was in Augusta, Georgia, Ward 1. And prior to that, a lot of people don't know, there were free states where there wasn't slaves. South Carolina was one of them, and Georgia.
Okay.
And the book explains it. It goes into detail, but it's still enjoyable. You know, it lets you know the history, because once again, we have to learn the past. You have to, in order to solve a problem, you have to know where the problem began. And that's what this book does. That's why it's called Lexia Simpson's Journal of Enlightenment, because it will just wake you up. And almost every review from the everybody, the one word comes out your mouth is wow. You
So
know,
is this a novel, or is it how does a person read it? I mean, is it a novel? Is it a memoir? Is it when
a
you
historical
it's coming from
memoir.
your perspective?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's actually
It's
like
your
you say,
voice. It's your voice, and it talks about his time.
right. So I talk through him, he talks through me,
Of course.
and there are actually factual events. The majority of the book talks about factual events that are documented, a lot of it in the Augusta Chronicle. And he also ended up buying the Augusta Chronicle newspaper building. It was 5 stories. Now this, yes, it had one floor. It had billiards and tap, and an oyster bar. Mind you,
Uh,
oyster bars, cigar bar. Really, you know,
that's
and
amazing.
unfathomable for somebody of our heritage.
Our
You know, and then he had parlors on one floor, and then for men, then he had what floor for the women, and then he stayed on the top with his palatial estate that was forbidden for others to come and visit.
Oh, okay. That
And
sounds
yes, they called him the white man by day, black man by night.
he's mixed
You
breed.
know, but his clientele
Uh-huh.
were the Rockefellers,
Really?
Carnegies, yes.
Wow.
General Sherman had this, General Lee, um, Fairchilds, the richest, I mean, royalty. Yes, the richest clientele that you could imagine. People that are in control then, and their families are still in control. And he served cognac and the finest liquors and all kind of food. So guess what? While they were imbibing the cognac,
Uh-huh.
he overheard all the secrets of the world to
Like
come.
you said, Rockefellers and the
Yes,
Rothschilds and those are
yes,
Secret Service or Illuminati, whatever you call it.
all of that new world, and so it's in the book, and it reveals,
Let's see
you know,
let's see a cover. Let's see a cover of your book. Now you have to show it off. You said too much.
yes,
Now we need to see it.
no
Cover,
time to hate.
everyone. No time to hate. How many pages?
It's 174 pages, and it also has a Supreme Court case in there where they were trying to shut his business down. And
Oh,
yes, yes. So they infiltrated, and he prevailed. So, like I say, this is it's inspirational as well, but the majority of the book is factual. That is documented. That you can do the research on it, and I try not to write it to be into the historical facts to the T to make it entertaining, because you literally will laugh, cry, you know, your 3 things, and just make you think. And that's what the book is about, to provoke thought, to change your mindset. Yes.
so
And
your book. When did the book publish?
it published in 2018 and was released in 2019 is when the campaign began on the book.
When did you learn about this family member? Was it at a young age, or
No,
what
not
did you
at
do
all.
for you?
My brother passed away,
Mhm.
and we were at the repast, and this picture sat on my mother's coffee table since I could remember.
So your mom's side. Okay.
And on the back it just read his name, Lexia Simpson, and his second wife, Sarah Bill.
Okay.
So my sister
And how long ago
Google.
was that? How long ago was that?
This was in 2012.
Okay.
2012. So my sister Googled it. Up pop, richest Negro / mulatto in the South pre-post Civil War.
That's my relative.
Really? Really?
That's
Yes.
amazing.
You know.
You know where you come from. Some good stuff, right?
No, yes, blessed. Definitely blessed. And a lot, and the most of us, a lot of us do. You know, and that's why it's so important that we learn our heritage, because the book puts emphasis in the beginning about how important heritage is.
How
You know,
heritage is. Yeah.
without that, you know, see, because all of America, for a reason, is dated back to slavery. Even for the Europeans, Africans, that's our mindset. That's the history that we have. So guess what? So if everybody on all sides, all colors, and they're equating us to slavery, where can we go?
Where do we go? What do we look to, right? What do we look to?
The mindset is already set. So how do you change that? Especially when with my European brothers and sisters, where it's inbred in them from the time they can speak that we're inferior.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not their fault. It's just the way they're raised. You know, it's just their norm.
Yes.
Yeah.
You love your mom and dad. You're gonna listen to your mom and dad and accept what they say as truths.
Right.
So
you want to read something really quick from the book or some type of excerpt? Can you share something deep with us? We want to sell the book today. Okay,
yes, we'll. You know, I'm gonna start it out with the premise of this book. There's a very it's a quote. It's in the beginning of the book, Ubuntu. And anthropologists, yes, Ubuntu. An anthropologist proposed a game to the children of an African tribe. He put a basket of fruit near a tree and told the kids that the first one to reach the fruit would win them all. When he told them to run, they all took each other's hand and ran together. Then they sat together and joined the fruit. When asked why they ran like that, as one could have taken the fruit all for oneself, they responded, Ubuntu, how can one of us be happy if all the others are sad? Ubuntu is a philosophy practiced by African American tribes that is often translated as I am because we are. And so that right off the top gets your mindset, because that's where this book takes you into it. Lexia's dream was one race, the human race. And that was the premise of that. I mean, he literally changed the mindsets of these people. And he also mentored John Hope, which was one of the first Black presidents of Morehouse College, Smith, and Brown College. And John Hope worked for him, and he was one of the greatest educators of that time.
Wow.
So he made so much difference. You know, what the way he impacted people was just unfathomable. It just you cannot even ascertain on this ink in this book what this man did to change the world.
Phenomenal that you met somebody you learned about someone that is a part of your family that was a game changer in the 1800s, doing things that most African Americans had no access to.
None.
In that time and era. So today, with access to much, it starts on the inside if you want to connect to things, right? You have to start on the inside, because if you can do it during a time where there was a lot of adversity, resentment, walls of resistance, he accomplished things. I'm sitting here reading the back of your book where it says he owned and operated one of the finest restaurants, saloons in the South, a 3-story exquisite experience, serving the finest food, cigars, wine, ales, and liquor. His clientele consisted of great generals of the Civil War. That's like 1865, 1863, right? And citizens from all the regions. So when they came into these towns to have these meetings, they came to your great uncle's saloon to come set up and chat and network. And
if they were anybody, somebody, and of the upper crust, is meant, like you say, the economical ruler and political giants of that time. They say his food was so good that General Sherman, his famous march to the coast, they said they left Augusta alone. But if you check history books, there may be some truth to that. They went around Augusta, Georgia, because Sherman said he was going to come back to my granddaddy's house, my saloon, and celebrate. So they spared. That's how good his food was. And his recipes in the book as well. There's some of the secret recipes that I have.
Recipes in the book, guys. Wow.
That I have, I'm a saucier thanks to him, and best sauce ribs that you could ever imagine.
When you learned about him, you took on well with that, right? It was just part of your makeup. It was just all divine that you learned about him. So you know where you came from, just
right.
finesse,
And it's so important because I never knew where. Well, my mother taught me mostly. I would call her how you cook this or whatever. But that's another importance of the book is that you have a yin to cut hair,
right?
Build something, engineer type mind. That's genetics, and that's why it's so important that we go back. Somewhere in your lineage, yes, why you're like, hold on, everybody in my family's does this, they do that. Why do I want to be an artist? Why do? Check your history, check your lineage. It's in there, it's in the bloodline. And that's why it's also very, very important to know your heritage and forgive and forget all of these bad bloods in our families. In order for this world to reunite, we as African Americans have to commit to getting our families right first. And now.
A little bit deeper. I agree. Again, we're talking to Craig E. Rush. If you guys just signed in, and we're just listening in, we are talking to him about his book called No Time to Hate, Lexis Henson's Journal of Enlightenment. Tell us how they can buy your book and how much it costs.
Okay. Right now it's on sale. The ebook is on sale for $4.99 on Amazon. And you can, yes, it's $14.99 on Amazon. The paperback, the hard copy is $19.99.
Okay.
And you can buy it at Barnes & Noble. I do quite a bit of Barnes & Noble book signings.
Okay.
So I'll be continuing the circuit after all of this is over with. That kind of put a damper on my book tour. You can buy it at any online book outlet.
And then you also can go to your website at craigrush.us.
craigrush.us. And it's not on there with it, but as a matter of fact, right now it's a special going on where you can buy the book and the t-shirt for $25. Okay. And you just leave a message in there. Here it is. And if it's not a more appropriate time.
One race, human race. It is so relevant.
No.
Very relevant shirt. And the title. There's no time to hate. I agree.
It is. It's divine.
It's divine. Well, we thank you so much for being a part of our Juneteenth virtual book fair. Your book is phenomenal. It's a great read. Do we have any questions from the audience before we release Craig into the universe? Any questions out there for him? Okay, so if you are interested in buying his book, please go to his website and get that book, www.craigrush.us.
And feel free to email me with input, positive, negative, at cerush@yahoo.com. I welcome all comments, everything.
Well, you enjoy your Juneteenth weekend. This is just the beginning.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right.
You enjoy too.
All right. You have a good evening.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, world. Good night. Peace. One love. Remember, one race. The human race. Let's get it together, world. We can do this. We can do this. We got this. Love you guys.
All right, signing
All
out.
right. Bye.
All right, guys, that was Craig E. Rush, the author of No Time to Hate, Lexis Henson's Journal of Enlightenment. He learned about his great-great-uncle, and he was a man of power back in the 1800s. He was a mixed breed, and he attracted a elite group of people to visit his establishment, his business. And so that was a really interesting author to interview, especially with the times that we're going through right now. I love the title, No Time to Hate. One race, human race. It's going to take unity. It's going to take some unity for us to get past what we're going through right now. And I see it happening, and I'm really happy about that. So let's keep moving because we are running out of time here. We're at 8:21. We have Ashley Silver is our next author up. Let's see. I appreciate you guys who are hanging in there with us, and I hope you are enjoying the Juneteenth virtual book fair featuring African Americans across the country. Our next author on the platform is Ashley Silver. She is the author and public relations professional. She graduated from University of Montevallo in 2012, where she acquired a bachelor's degree in mass communication with a concentration in journalism and a minor in public relations. She went on to receive her master's degree in mass communication with a concentration in public relations. Silver has been writing short stories and narrative poetry since she was 9 years old. In April 2018, she published her first short novel entitled Choices. It was through Amazon. She released her second novel, Autoscopy. I have to make sure I say that right, Autoscopy, on May 22nd, 2020 at Barnes & Noble. Silver currently works in the internal communications at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. When Silver is not writing, she enjoys spending days with her husband, Larry, and their small Shih Tzu, Rio. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring Ashley to the... Oh, I don't see Ashley. Are you here, Ashley? I don't see her on our panel here. Hold on 1 second, please. Okay, so I did a full introduction of her, but I don't see her. Maybe something happened. I don't see her in our panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our last author, who is Dominique Thomas. Okay, well, we'll come back to her if we have a few minutes. Maybe something happened technically. We are working with the virtual platform now, so it could be a little bit different, and there can be technical difficulties. So let's introduce our next author that's here to present on our platform. Dominique Thomas. She was born and raised in Detroit. Dominique has always had a love for reading and writing. It wasn't until she was in her 20s that she finally get to write a novel. That was 2014, and she's gone on to release over 12 national best-selling novels. Wow. Dominique is now self-published and embarking on a new writing journey. It is her ultimate goal to own a bookstore in the city that she grew up in and turn her books into movies and even TV shows. Dominique still resides in Michigan with her children and family. She can be found on all social media sites and is always looking to connect with new readers. Okay, so let's bring in, ladies and gentlemen, Dominique Thomas. Hi, Dominique. Can you hear me? Are you there? I can see your face. Can you see me? Oh, technical difficulties. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see.
Hi.
There you are. Hi, how are you?
Sorry. Hi, how are you?
Okay, I was wondering if we were having technical difficulties because we had a speaker before you. That's her on the panel. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, great, great. Happy Juneteenth to you.
Happy Juneteenth to you as well.
Thank you. I just did an intro on you, and I didn't let the audience know that you are a urban romance writer, right?
Yes,
So before we
yes.
get to that, let's talk about Juneteenth real quick. I think it's important for us
Okay.
to give our perception of what Juneteenth means to us because we're celebrating it today.
Right.
It's our June 19th. Tell us what what Juneteenth means to you.
It definitely represents freedom, but I do feel like it still shows how far we need to go. Um, it's hurtful just seeing how things are now and thinking that we would have made so much progress from 1865 to 2020, but it's definitely a representation of how far we've come as well. So it's
Well, it's
it's
definitely
just
something
I
to
get
hold on
emotional.
to
It's
because
yeah,
it can be sad,
yeah,
it can be
yeah.
liberating at the same time because
Right.
we went from chains on our hands and feet to now
Exactly.
being able to
Yeah.
pursue a degree and to own housing,
Right.
some
Right.
land. So we
Right.
gained some freedom, some liberties,
Yes, we've definitely come a long way. Yeah.
but there's still a lot of room for growth, you know.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So let's talk about you as an author. Woo, urban
Yes.
romance. You know, I had people call me
Yeah.
in the store lately asking, hey, do you have any urban romance books? And, you know, we have some books written by some national best-selling authors.
Yeah.
They're old copies, but we also have, you know, we have the physical store, which we open up one day soon again.
Okay.
Had
Oh
independent
yeah, that
authors
was
selling their urban romance books there. But tell us, how
uh-huh.
did you get into writing urban romance? Tell us about Promise You This, Promise You That, Hold You Down, Bleeding Love, and Broken Little
Yeah.
Love. Ooh, listen to the
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah, I started writing when I was 16, but I've always had stories in my head. And then something traumatic happened when I was in my teens, and it was like an outlet for me to write. It was a good way for me to release the pain that I had and different things. And I like to write romance stories, but I do touch on different things. The Bleeding Love that I have, it's like a book. Yeah, I wish that this could, like, I'm trying to really push to get this in schools because it is about a young girl. She comes from a very religious family and kind of got left out to the wolves because she was open to, with her family being so kind of closed minded, it set her up for meeting someone that really put her in a bad situation. And she ended up being in a domestic violence situation for 10 years. So I do romance, but I do write other type of books as well.
Right. So that book you just talked about, that's your most recent title that you published?
No, my most recent book is Promise You This, and that touches on human trafficking. So I do have disclaimers at the front of the books, yeah, because I know some of those could be triggers for people. So,
Gotcha. Okay,
and
so
that's the sister. Oh no, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
oh, that's the sister.
Yeah, no, the sister was taken when she was 10, and years later, this other sisters moved to another state, and they just happened to run into her, and it's like their story. That's how the story starts from there.
So who is your readers? Are your books for one type of reader or who's your reader?
No, it spans. I have readers that's young as I have 19, 16-year-olds messaging me. Then I have older readers as well. So it goes back, it's definitely for the woman that just wants to read things that she can relate to, whether it's heartache or a funny book or just relationship issues. That's mainly what it is, just relationship issues, finding yourself as a woman, trying to get to where you're going.
And your books educate, inform, and entertain all at the same time.
Yes,
And
yes, yes,
there's drama in it. So if you look for
yes,
a drama book, you got to get Dominique Thomas.
yes,
You know, you want to find it
yes,
right after Detroit Book City's Juneteenth virtual book fair. You know, you need something
right.
before you get to bed. Then Dominique books. Show us
Yes.
some more titles of your book if you have. Do you have any more copies of your other titles with you?
With the COVID, my books that I did order for this, they're not coming until next week because Amazon's shipping is kind of really bad right now. But
Yeah.
yes, I do. I have Upside of Love, Promise You This, Broken Little Rich Girls, Side Effects of Loving You. I've written 27 books since 2014.
Wow, and you said you were 12, you released over 12 national best-selling novels. Is that on Amazon?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
Were they
yes.
buying the books, or is that where the sales came from? Or
It came from Amazon, but my books are available on Barnes and Nobles as well. And then I have them on my website too, with this, which is authordominiquethomas.com.
okay, so we repeat that. So your website is
Yeah.
authordominiquethomas.com, and she has all of
.com.
her books
Yes.
on sale, and that's the preferred way for you to buy her books over Amazon.
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Awesome. So what's new? What's coming up for you then? So you're urban romance writer. You've written
Yeah.
over 12 books. You
Yeah,
don't,
over 27.
you don't even look old enough to write 27 books.
Thank you. Thank
The
you.
clock is always ticking of new stories. Then when you
Yes.
feel them, you kind of write them down, and then
Yes.
it turns into a book.
Yes. I could just be out anywhere and it'll come to me. It's really like a blessing. I just thank God literally all the time to be able to do something that I love. Yeah. I'm very appreciative of it.
So are some of your
Um,
storylines from people that you know, situations that you've seen, or are they just
um, somewhat. I don't know who's watching this live, so I don't want them to be like, "That's my story." But yeah, definitely from me, my friends, things I've heard. I always put a spin on it, though. I always put my twist on it. I'm not gonna plagiarize, steal anybody's life story. But I do get ideas just from hearing my girlfriends talk or things that we went through, And then I do have a lot of readers. I have a reading group on Facebook, Dominique Thomas Reading Spot. Yes, author Dominique Thomas Reading Spot. And we chat in there, and I just get ideas from them too. Like I said, I try to write for the everyday woman that just wants somebody to relate to her, because we have so many things separating us. It could be money or different class levels, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're women. We can all relate to each other.
So I have someone who has a question. Jesse wants to know, will there be books coming for men? Good question.
I always get that. I definitely want to do some from a man's point of view. I'll try not to be sexist or anything like that. And I always hear that. I have so many women's stories in my head, but I do want to write something for the men though.
I think if there's a demand for it, if somebody asks, then
Yes.
hey, you shall receive. Then you
Exactly.
think for yourself, or you think you need to get a man involved to kind of help build the character and setting?
That would be different. I wouldn't mind that. I know a lot of people, Ashley and Jaquavis, that's from here. I know they write together and stuff. So that would be nice. That would be nice to do that.
Okay, now Bria said that's a great idea. I'll be happy to read it. Okay, so they're looking for
Right.
She wants to know what's the title of the book again. What's the title? The one you just showed.
Oh, it's Bleeding Love.
And Bleeding Love is kind of for the young adult, right?
Yes, I'm really pushing to get it into schools, and it's for the character. She's 16, but it spans till she's like almost 30, because it's almost 500 pages. So it's a full novel. Wow. And it really does show. Yeah, it really shows how we have to stay connected, and young girls, maybe they can read it and know that they can go to their parents, be honest with them. Hey, I'm wondering about my body, or if I met a man, because she really falls victim to Dion, which is the main character. And he is just like a menace. He came like they say, the devil doesn't come with horns. He came with a nice outfit on and talking sweet to her. And I really, it's a story that everybody, they always come back to this. And I am trying to get that pushed to schools, because I feel like if Twilight can be in the schools and that has adult scenes and everything, this book can definitely be in high schools as a way for young girls to read it and hopefully learn from it, because domestic violence is still very relevant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So Jesse wants to know, where do you see your career going?
I would love to own a bookstore.
Oh, you're doing really well.
Thank you. Thank you. I would love to own a bookstore, and then I would love to get my books into movies or TV shows or something. It's not enough Black TV shows on TV anymore. I remember when I was younger, we had TGI Friday and stuff like that, and things have just changed.
Well, Netflix is a new outlet for you too. They accept
Yes,
private movies,
they
private
do.
funded movies. There are so many ways to get
Yeah,
your story into a play or a movie these days.
right.
Like Jesse's a very busy person. He says, "When is the new book coming?" He wants that
I'm
book,
actually
command book.
right. I'm looking to release it in July, hopefully. It is a book that's talking about the things that's going on right now. It's called Derailed. It's about a main character, Jayla. She's kind of been let down by the men in her family, and it's caused her to have self-hate, which I know a lot of people do, and she doesn't really have any faith in Black people. So she's working at a news station. She's given the opportunity to go investigate this family that is kind of like the Black Wall Street. I just was really intrigued by the Black Wall Street story. And yeah, and so that's kind of like where I don't want to tell the whole story, but that's how her story began. But that's in July. It's called Derailed.
Wow, you are such a phenomenal writer.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you.
that's
Thank
why we
you.
host this platform because many of you are out there writing these great books that
Yeah, thank
people
you.
can learn from, and they can
Yeah,
they can open up their mindset, and people learn
right.
from them, and you guys
Yeah,
need to be acknowledged. There needs to be a platform on a
thank
regular
you.
where you can come on and
Definitely.
talk about your books, your creative side.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I
So proud
definitely
of
agree. Thank you.
you. If we have
Thank
more
you. Thank you
questions
so
from the
much.
audience, let's see if we get any more questions down here. It look like now Brianna said that's a great idea. I'd be happy to read it. So needed when
Thank
I was
you.
younger. Lots of value, sis. See?
Mhm.
Let's talk about that bookstore. You have
Yeah.
any questions about owning a bookstore?
Yes. How did it get started? I know when I was younger, I used to go to Northland Mall. I don't know if you remember the bookstore that was inside of there.
I know Natalie.
And
I know her.
y'all see, that's like my greatest memory. I swear. I would like, how would I go about just getting even ready for that?
Well, let me share this. Before I opened up the bookstore, first of all, I have a love for books too. I was raised with books. I had a bookshelf in my house when people were outside playing. I was in there shifting over the bookshelf. My mother had provided.
Right.
Um, and I used to sit there and I would read the books to the stuffed animals and my dolls. And I used
Oh
to
my
take a
goodness.
picture. And, as I progressed in life and became a middle schooler, my sister and I and my friends, we would all meet up at the public library over at Harper
Yeah.
and Dickerson, that public library.
Uh,
And we would go in and
yeah.
find out books. Sometimes we went up there just to hang out, but they didn't really know that I really had a love for books. And I would play at that time.
Okay.
When I got home, I was reading. We walk out with
Right.
loads of books signing them out. So it's always been in my heart to
Mm,
the book.
yeah.
The book is like
Right.
it just makes me feel so important to have them around. I feel educated. I feel like there's knowledge
Yes.
around me that I can't lose. It's a connection.
Yes.
And I call myself a tree. See this tree right here? My husband,
Yeah.
because it has a lot of dust on it, but I tell him all the time, not move my tree. This is a book.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
the first thing we did before I opened up the bookstore and before I even had any idea that I was interested in doing one was we did a book fair like we're doing now, but it was physical. I'm
Okay.
a marketing professional.
Okay.
Okay, I've done expos, business expos. I've published teen magazines in the past, just in case you want to know my background. Detroit
Yeah.
back in early 90s. And I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and I did Louisville Urban Teen. And then I did a book here called Around D-Town, which was an advertising coupon to Black business. So I've published some information guides myself, but
Okay.
I never knew that I was going to open up a bookstore. So just having the background of knowing about authors and being a marketing professional, I said, why don't we put together a book fair? Now, mind you, I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I've been in the print business for 20 years. We have the machines and we do t-shirts, we do the masks now.
Oh,
We print everything
right.
but money. So I already had the print background. I printed my own books. I said, let's do a book fair. That would be good because who are the Black authors out here? So we hosted it in February 2017, and we attracted 60 Black book authors. It was,
Oh my
I
goodness.
believe it came together like that. It kind of scared me a little. I'm like, ooh, careful what you ask for because it may come.
Right.
After
Yes.
that, I started setting up pop-ups everywhere, and I saw that there was a demand.
Mm.
I went around the city
Yeah.
and went to library sales, and I bought all these used books. But I was trying to find things that was related to African Americans. I wanted our specialty to be African American. So I found some of those, but I found other books that were just good. So I started that way. I just went and grabbed all the books, and I did a pop-up at Northwest Activity Center. It was around Christmas time, after that February. So by that November, by that Christmas time, no, I set up the book fair before. No, I had the pop-up before the African American. It just went well. People were buying. I had a competitor that was on the other side. I have to be careful with my words. I had someone else there selling books in the hallway. And I was told by that person, well, you're not going to sell any of those books. And I had them all discounted. And, oh my gosh, so many grandparents came through there and bought books galore. And I just looked over and waited. Hello, didn't you tell me I wasn't going to sell any books?
Right.
I started doing research. And I said, people kept saying, where are you located? Where are you located? We set up at the festivals that year. We set up at the Liver Noise Festival, that arts festival they have in August.
Yeah.
Set up at Jefferson and Shane Park. I believe it was the Hug Detroit. So I did the pop-ups. And then as people kept asking, where are you located? Where are you located? So we created a location. And that's where we were at. We were thriving at the Stratford building. 24361. I went into our third year, probably our 8th expo. Had 4 schools set up to go in and sell books to the kids, like Scholastic. So
wow.
When the pandemic hit, it put everything to a halt. So that's pretty much just followed my passion and followed my heart and listened to that inner voice, and it happened. So when you're ready, you let me know. You can be on the other side of town. I can all my leads.
I will definitely let you know. That's very inspiring.
So we are talking today, for those of you who just tuned in, we are talking to Dominique Thomas. She is the author of several books titled Promise You This, Promise You That, Hold You Down. Wait, I have to read these titles. Bleeding Love, Oklahoma Rich Girls, and then that latest one you just showed us this title. What? The one you just showed us?
Oh, this is Bleeding Love.
Bleeding Love.
And I'm working on Derail. Yeah.
And just another thing about Dominique, and what I love is she doesn't stop writing. That's the key. You don't stop. You just keep going, and it's going to build you up. I see a very, very bright future for you, just so you'll know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Because it's hard. Yeah.
It's a challenge, but those things that are hard, the road less traveled, it's the road.
Yes.
So
thank you so much.
Your future, and seeing what the future holds for you. If you are interested in buying the books, let's see. We have another comment from Brianna. I think she likes you. Great. Consistency. I agree.
Thank you.
You have displayed in your writing career thus far. You have been very, very consistent.
Yeah.
And
thank you. I try to be.
It's time for you to be recognized. It's just time. Yeah. So hopefully people that are watching, I recommend you buy her book.
I hope so.
You can go to her website at authordominiquethomas.com, and we will put all the information up on the page this evening before we put our head to rest, so that you guys can surface these great aspiring authors' websites and buy their books. Learn more about the Black race, learn more about Black people, our experiences, where our imagination goes,
Right.
You can't lose. It creates some kind of, I like what who just got off the screen? Craig said, one race, human race. I like that.
Yes. I do too.
Have any more questions? We have any more questions from our listening audience? Let's see if we have any more questions. What is the cost range for your books? Margot wants to know.
It really depends on the page count. The book, Bleed in Love, this is $14.99 because of the page count. But then my books like Upside Down in Love, that's only around 70,000 words. Those are $9.99 for paperbacks. And then my books are available on Kindle. I am going to start switching them over to Audible. I'm just kind of waiting for everything to kind of slide with the pandemic because it's very expensive. Being independent is it's worth it because you're putting it into yourself, but it's still costly. And I have 3 kids, so it's like a lot. I have to kind of make sure I'm managing my money right. So, because I write full time, so.
Right. Well, you're doing a phenomenal job. We are so proud of
you.
Black
Thank
author.
you.
We celebrate you during Juneteenth.
Thank
You are
Thank you.
exposed to the universe.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me.
And coming on our show. Our Juneteenth virtual book fair. And may peace be among you. And please enjoy
Thank you. Thank you. You as well. Bye.
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 All right. Wow, what a phenomenal book fair, virtual book fair. And I think she's our last author for the evening. It looks like we're wrapping it up. I'm going to do another poll before we get off line. Okay, let's go to our poll because we have a few more minutes. Okay, so let's get the results from our first poll. Our first poll was how many of you, oh, look who popped in. Ashley.
Hey, so my Facebook Live was still reading the past person. So I wasn't aware that I was supposed to come on here. It still was reading as Craig's. I guess it's a delay.
Oh, well, this is technology, so we don't know what we're going to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to miss my part because I've been on here since the beginning.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
I didn't see you in the holding area. That's really weird, but that's technology. Well, we are so glad to have you, Ashley. I did a full reading on your background, and I said, everybody, here we are, Ashley, and there was no Ashley.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if it's a delay on my Wi-Fi or what.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, that's what I said. Technology, it happens, but we still have 15 minutes to talk. We have about 11 minutes. We have about 12 minutes.
Okay, so, that's fine.
Let's talk about, first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I told the audience about your background, that you're an author and a public relations professional.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You've written short stories and narrative poetry since you were 9. Mm-hmm. And in April 2018, you published your first novel entitled Choices.
Yes.
Your second novel is Autostop.
Yes.
Autostop. That was published on May 22nd, 2020. Mm-hmm. And it's available at Barnes & Noble.
It is.
Well, before we get into your book, I have to ask you that question. What does Juneteenth mean to you?
So to me, Juneteenth means freedom. And when I think of freedom, I think of physical and mental. So my grandmother is actually 83 years old. So I have these deep discussions with her, and we talk about our ancestors and even the ones that we didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm an empath, so I feel stuff a little more deeply, other people's pain. So when I think about watching the movie Black Panther at the end, when he talks about bondage, death is better than bondage, jumping from the ships because they didn't want to be in bondage. That type of stuff really makes me emotional, and just think about the things they were going through. I mean, you had women that were pregnant being lynched, and that is jarring enough. But I wanted an autocopy to connect that to my book, to convey those emotions truthfully and raw, but at the same time, just to showcase how they overcame that type of stuff, because my entire theme for my book and when I'm talking about it is purpose. So it was a purpose for our ancestors. It was a purpose for them to overcome, because we're here. I mean, if none of them were fighting and none of them overcame adversity, then we wouldn't be here. So to me, Juneteenth just means freedom mentally and physically.
Awesome. Now let's talk about your first book. Let's talk about the first novel called Choices. What is that about?
So Choices is about 2 young girls. They're actually twins, and they run away from home because their stepfather is basically kind of violent. So they run away from home, and they end up running into even more chaos than they were coming from. Basically, they find out that and I don't want to tell the entire book, but they find out he's involved in some illegal activity, and they find out they can't trust the police. So the police actually picked them up, and they find out from one policeman who actually is a good cop that some of the cops are crooked, and they're actually in on this big illegal trading that's going on. And so they end up trying to crack the case and expose all the people that are in on this crime ring that's going on. And so it's a lot of action in it. It's a lot of the twins finding out, how strong they can be when faced with adversity. And I don't want to tell too much about it, but that's the basic premise of Choices.
Oh, that's a high school book then. That's a young adult teen book?
Yeah, more so.
Mm-hmm. That was written
2018.
Mm-hmm. And so now 2 years later, you have autoscopy.
Yes. And that's what I'm most excited about.
What is autoscopy?
Well, and I know the title is kind of elusive, so I have to explain that. And the best way that I figure I can explain it is, so I was born in the 90s, and it was a show called Unsolved Mysteries. And I don't know how familiar people are with that. It was actually episodes where these young kids that were about 10 would be having basically what is an outer body experience. And that's what autoscopy is. It's an outer body experience where they would be telling something that a grandfather that they never met, a great-great-grandfather never met, saw, or something that only somebody who lived in the past could know. And these are actually real stories of people saying, hey, my son basically can see back in the past.